Chapter 796. Taoist Jiu Shan blurted out the Atlas Combat Constitution, shocking everyone. Even Devil Fiend was stunned. Among the 10 Chaos Combat Constitutions, those who could be called combat constitutions were naturally the backbone of the two camps. They were people who could influence the outcome of a battle. The Atlas Combat Constitution ranked 10th. Although it was ranked 10th in terms of combat strength, the Atlas Combat Constitution ranked first among those of the same level apart from the Supreme Gods and the other 9 combat constitutions. No matter how powerful a lord was, they would not be able to withstand a single blow from it. The Atlas Combat Constitution was very young. He looked like he was only 18 or 19 years old, but his cultivation base was at high-level high god. His cold eyes froze time and space, suppressing half-step lords to the point that they dared not speak. This was absolute strength. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. The Atlas Combat Constitution was one of the top powerhouses of the great demon god bloodline. He did not expect this inheritance to appear now. Stop the Atlas Combat Constitution. I'll take care of the rest, Yi Qinghan reminded in a deep voice. Long Tsanghai immediately knew that the Atlas Combat Constitution was a variable that rendered his self-destruction useless. However, Yi Qinghan would not have been able to escape if Long Tsanghai had not self-destructed. The Atlas Combat Constitution alone was enough to keep him here. "Welcome, Lord Atlas," Devil Fiend said respectfully. Atlas Combat Constitution stepped forward with his spear in hand, not even looking at Devil Fiend. Apart from lords, no one else could catch the eye of the Atlas Combat Constitution. Once he became a lord, other lords would not be a threat to him. "Give me the dragon spirit and I'll grant you an intact corpse," Atlas Combat said coldly as he stared straight at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes at Atlas Combat Constitution. He knew that he was no match for him unless he became a high-level high god and used all his strength. Only then would he be able to fight him to a draw. Under such circumstances, he would definitely die. Yi Qinghan scanned his surroundings, looking for a weak point and preparing to break out of the encirclement. At that moment there was no way out. His front, back, left and right were all sealed. "Are you ready?" Yi Qinghan asked Long Tsanghai telepathically. "I'm ready. You can get ready to break out at any time. I'll cooperate with you." Long Tsanghai gave up completely. He was definitely going to die today. "Then let's move. I'll break out from the right. You block Sky Pillar." Before Yi Qinghan could finish his sentence, he stomped on the ground and rushed to the right. Whoosh! The right side was the weakest. There was no upstream cloud, no existence like Taoist Jiu Shan and Devil Fiend. The little golden crow's mouth of fire covered the entire space and time. Through the origin of fire, Yi Qinghan stirred up the flames and blasted them in all directions. Even half-step lords would have to stay away from a rank 16 flame. One of the half-step lords with a weaker cultivation base was engulfed as soon as he came into contact with the rank 16 flames. There was no way to destroy him. He howled in agony and roared madly. In a short while, he turned into a wisp of ash and scattered with the wind. The second half-step lord was tainted by the origin of fire as he tried to stop Yi Qinghan forcefully. Sensing that something was amiss, he soared into the clouds and bellowed, "That's a rank 16 divine fire." When everyone heard that, they fled madly, not daring to stop him at all. Yi Qinghan seized the opportunity to break out of the encirclement. Together with the Pishio, he mobilized the spatial order and vanished in a flash. "Who dares come here?" Just as everyone was about to give chase, Long Tsanghai mobilized his divine power and devoured divine pills like a madman. The divine power in his body was no longer under his control. However, he continued to absorb divine power and was about to self-destruct. At that moment, the Atlas Combat Constitution spear pierced through the void as fast as lightning. Without giving Long Tsanghai a chance to self-destruct, the spear pierced through Long Tsanghai's head and plucked out his godhead. Long Songhai's body, which was about to self-destruct, shriveled rapidly like a deflated balloon. This was the power of the 10 combat constitutions. Humph! How dare an ant offend a god? The Atlas combat constitution snorted coldly and shattered Long Songhai's godhead. Then, he hurled his spear directly in the direction Yi Qinghan had fled. Whoosh! The void shattered continuously and the spatial order distorted. It was trying to smash Yi Qinghan out of the alternate dimension. The power of this attack covered more than 5,000 kilometers. It ignored time and space and stabbed at Yi Qinghan's back in the blink of an eye. It was the Lord's weapon, the Atlas combat spear. It was unstoppable. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He was far slower than the combat spear. All he could do was swing his sword backward and strike the Atlas combat spear squarely. Boom! The two attacks surged into the galaxy and across the surface of the water. Pft! Yi Qinghan coughed up blood and flew backward. The web between his thumb and forefinger was torn, but he didn't panic. He took advantage of the momentum and disappeared again. The sky-raising battle spear was sent flying by the saber strike, flying thousands of miles away. The sky-raising battle spear was then caught by the sky-raising battle spear. At this moment, there was a look of shock in his eyes. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to withstand this attack and not die. The Atlas combat constitution was so powerful that even Yi Qinghan's 5 elemental Taoist constitution couldn't withstand a single blow from the Atlas combat constitution. It was hard to imagine what the 3rd and 4th ranked Void Taoist constitution and Ethereal constitution would be like when they unleashed their full power. Yi Qinghan wasn't in the mood to fight. He just wanted to escape from this place as far as possible. Behind him, Taoist Jiushan was entangled by the demonic fiends. There were no more powerhouses in the Sisui realm to help Yi Qinghan. Those who chased after him were all trying to stop him. Most people began to take a detour to stop Yi Qinghan. Only a small number of people chased after him. Nishui Yun and Sky Pillar pursued Yi Qinghan in a straight line. One wanted to seize the Chaos Dragon's source, while the other wanted to destroy it. However, Sky Pillar wanted to destroy the source of the Chaos Dragon's source. That was to kill Yi Qinghan and make the Chaos Dragon's source disappear completely. To eliminate all future troubles. Yi Qinghan had used Windmark to perform stellar transposition in the Milky Way and was recognized by Qing Tian. So it's the successor of the Witch tribe. Kid, you can't escape from me today. Die. Atlas shouted. Boom. Boom. Atlas kept piercing through the void and was always able to accurately find Yi Qinghan's trace. The three of them were moving as fast as they could. Yi Qinghan couldn't hide his strength anymore. He unleashed the full power of his mid-level great deity cultivation and Windmark to the limit. He constantly changed his trajectory and tore through space, trying to shake off the two powerhouses behind him. However, he couldn't shake them off. Instead, the distance between them was closing. Whoosh! The little golden crow turned around and spat out 2 mouthfuls of fire. It wanted to delay the two for a moment. Now, even a breath could save Yi Qinghan's life. Nishui Yun and the other powerhouses directly shattered space and caused space-time turbulence to devour the origin of fire. However, their figures paused and the distance between them increased again. Atlas was even more terrifying. He directly pierced through the void with his spear and spun in the void at high speed. He passed through the flames without any hindrance to his speed. Damn it, how can these two be so fast? The divine bird grabbed Yi Qinghan's shoulder and flashed. It wanted to kill the two of them. Find a way to shake them off. Yi Qinghan's brain was working at high speed. He kept looking and listening while carrying the dragon spirit on his back. Chapter 797. Yi Qinghan was in pursuit, while Qing Tian and Enai Shuiyun were in hot pursuit. Countless half-step lords surrounded them from the sides while the half-step lords took detours to block the various exits. Now, they were hoping that Yi Qinghan would catch up to them, kill Yi Qinghan, seize the origin, and leave. They would flee to remote villages until they mastered the supreme godhead. Everyone wanted to take a gamble. If they gambled right, they would enjoy eternal glory. If they gambled wrong, they would not lose anything. With such a gambler's mentality, Yi Qinghan was completely at a loss as to where there was a way out and where there was a way out. There was no place to stand in the vast Sisui River. Yi Qinghan had no other choice but to flee now. Moreover, he had to flee with Dragon Spirit. The people behind him could catch up with him while he unlocked the god's metal chains. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Qinghan slashed several times consecutively, slashing through the shackles and crushing the space behind him, blocking his escape route. He kept leaping in the void to prevent the two behind him from catching his track. The three of them formed a triangle, leaving 3 trails of flames in the void and illuminating the galaxy for thousands of kilometers. Swoosh, 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 there were tens of thousands of them. Yi Qinghan was forced to use the god's chaos origin. A massive amount of divine power poured out, breaking through the barrier of high-level high god. His speed increased abruptly, increasing by several times. He disappeared in an instant. Qing Tian and Ni Shuiyun grunted at the same time. They each used their secret techniques, doubling the consumption of their divine power. Their speed was pushed to the limit. Yin and Yang reversed, and time and space flowed backward. Such secret techniques consumed their divine power too quickly. The two of them would not use them unless they had no other choice. Once their divine power was depleted, they would be in grave danger. Now, Yi Qinghan had forced them to use it. Even though Yi Qinghan had broken through, he dared not stay behind to fight the two of them. It would be good enough if he could fight one of them until both sides were injured. Moreover, he knew that he was no match for either of them. Whoosh, the space before them collapsed. Black vortexes appeared one after another like black holes. As they chased each other, the three of them ran out of dozens of major cities' territories for 3 days and nights. Hoo. Ni Shuiyun and Sky High's faces were flushed red. Their god power began to falter and they were panting. However, Yi Qinghan was like a madman. He only cared about escaping. Although his god power's speed was not as fast as before, he was still holding on. Qing Tian had never seen anyone use their divine power to the point of vomiting. It was the same for Ni Shuiyun. Yi Qinghan's divine power seemed to be inexhaustible, and his body would not tire. No half-step lord would be able to endure running at this speed for 3 days and 3 nights. F***CK. Are you two bastards done yet? Why are you chasing us? The divine bird roared. It was scared witless from being chased by these two experts. Die for me. Ni Shuiyun was flustered and exasperated. He shattered the void with his palm and directly smashed towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, you can't escape. Why struggle? In order to conserve his god power, Sky High had stopped attacking. In the past 3 days, he had unleashed more than 30 spear attacks. However, he had not caused any damage to Yi Qinghan. Instead, he had wasted a lot of energy. Yi Qinghan did not reply. It was better to run a little longer than to talk nonsense with them. However, the divine bird was willing to talk nonsense with them. Its sharp claws tightened around Yi Qinghan and it roared to the rear. You two little bastards, how obedient. Hurry up and chase after them. Sky High and Ni Shuiyun were furious. The divine bird had been chattering non-stop along the way. Apart from cursing, there was nothing good or bad about it. You two old bastards, this divine bird will let you have a pair of wings. If you catch up to me, I'll acknowledge you as my grandsons. The divine bird mocked loudly. Roar. Sky High was furious. He channeled his god power into his spear and shook the heavens. The golden Atlas battle spear destroyed everything in its path. It blasted towards Yi Qinghan with the power to destroy heaven and earth. Yi Qinghan's figure plunged rapidly into the ground. Through Earth origin and stellar transposition, he appeared thousands of miles away and dodged the fatal blow. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not continue to hide underground. Instead, he ran into the sky and said to the divine bird, "Continue to provoke them. Make them attack and exhaust their strength." The divine bird heard this and immediately put in more effort. It shouted, "Grandsons, is this all you've got? What bullsh T10 great physiques. You're not even qualified to wipe my ass." Sky High was burning with anger. He controlled the battle spear in the air, and it turned into thousands of rays of divine light. It charged towards Yi Qinghan and surrounded him. This attack had exhausted all of his god power. 10-direction seal. 10-direction protection. Yi Qinghan channeled Sorcerer Origin into the 10-direction seal and activated the Master God Artifact's power. It protected his body and allowed the battle spear to strike him. Boom! The battle spear and the 10-direction seal collided. It was deafening, and the aftermath shattered everything in all directions. Thud, thud, thud. Yi Qinghan held the 10-direction seal and was pushed back a few thousand meters. However, he managed to block it. His face was pale and he coughed out blood. His eyes were red. At this moment, the gap between him and Sky High was too big. He was far from being his opponent. Sky High looked at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. He had exhausted all of his god power to attack, but it did not kill Yi Qinghan. 10-direction seal. Wasn't this 10-direction seal destroyed? Sky High roared and looked at the 10-direction seal in disbelief. However, he did not know that the 10-direction seal had been repaired by the second sorcerer god. Sky High's god power was exhausted. Yi Qinghan took the attack. Instead of being shocked, he was happy. Now, only 30% of Enai Shueyun's strength was left. At this moment, Enai Shueyun attacked aggressively. Even 30% of his strength was not something Yi Qinghan could contend against. The will of the surroundings was controlled by him, and the space became sticky. It was impossible to tear through space. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed underground again and fled with the dragon spirit. He constantly changed his position and climbed out of the ground to attract Enai Shueyun's attack. Boom, boom, boom. A mountain range was flattened by Enai Shueyun. Yi Qinghan coughed out blood from the aftermath. His face was pale. The 12 godhoods could not withstand the consumption. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed out of the ground and rose vertically. He pointed behind him and released the dragon spirit's restriction. He shouted in a low voice, "Prepare to fight. You have the bloodline of the Chaos Dragon. Don't be afraid. Their god power has been consumed. Later, you and the little golden crow will hold this old man back. I will kill this so-called Sky High." The dragon spirit trembled and asked with a crying voice, "Where is my father?" "Dead. If you want to avenge him, do your best to hold Enai Shueyun back. Remember, you are a dragon, a true chaos dragon." Yi Qinghan growled and tore the chains on his body apart. He grabbed the dragon spirit and attacked Enai Shueyun again. Yi Qinghan mobilized the 10-direction seal and smashed it against his opponent's sword. He hoped to use the seal to consume the last of Enai Shueyun's god power. Boom! The 10-direction seal was a lord weapon. Even if it had not been revived, it was not something that a half-step lord could destroy. Bang! The sword collided with the 10-direction seal. The seal did not shatter, but the divine sword in Enai Shueyun's hand shattered. The sword turned into countless sword gleams that charged in all directions. Enai Shueyun coughed out blood. He was dizzy from the impact of the 10-direction seal. He was no longer at his peak combat strength. In fact, he had less than 20% of his strength left. After the collision, he was left with less than 10%. How could he defend against such an aftermath? The divine sword shattered again. The attack hit his soul. His face was pale. His body trembled and fell from the void. "Now, kill him!" Yi Qinghan roared and tossed the dragon spirit toward Enai Shueyun. Whoosh! Little golden crow charged out of his body and engulfed Ni Shueyun in flames. Roar! The dragon spirit was awakened by Yi Qinghan's furious roar. It activated its giant dragon bloodline and turned into a coiling dragon. It curled its gigantic tail and covered the sky. It smashed viciously toward Ni Shueyun, who was on the ground. Yi Qinghan charged toward the sky with his saber. His aura rose and he defied the heavens. Chapter 798. Sky Bearing hadn't expected Yi Qinghan to still have the strength to fight back, and he couldn't help but be shocked. His divine power had already been exhausted, and he hadn't had the time to recover yet. It was impossible for him to fight a monster like Yi Qinghan with just his physical strength. Yi Qinghan swooped down from the sky and swung his saber. Ripples appeared in the air as his force was activated. It was as if he was carrying the will of the great Tao and wanted to destroy Sky Bearing. Sky Bearing was shocked. He quickly swallowed a divine pill and gathered a bit of power in an extremely short time. He waved his spear and stabbed at Yi Qinghan. Boom! Although it was a short burst of power, it was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. It crashed toward Zhongquang. Boom! With a twist of his waist, Yi Qinghan unleashed his strongest power in midair and slammed it against the spear. Fight! With a roar, the sound of the collision tore through the eardrums. Yi Qinghan bled from his 7 orifices. Even his powerful 5 elemental Tao body was shattered. His dragon blood boiled, but he still could not stop himself from being defeated. His body flew into the distance like a kite with a broken string, creating a 1,000-meter-deep trench in the ground. Poof! Sky Bearing's divine power was too little. It was so little that it could be ignored. He had only relied on his body's physical strength, but he had withstood half of Yi Qinghan's power. He rolled on the ground and coughed up blood. Golden blood spurted out of his body and dyed the Sky Bearing spear red. The spear was revived and emitted a heaven-defying divine light that illuminated the water surface. The Master God weapon's might was vast and powerful. It crushed the shackles. Everything within 1,000 miles was suppressed by this terrifying aura and did not dare to move. Ah! Sky Bearing stood up in a panic and roared at the sky like a mad demon. His eyes were red as he stared at Yi Qinghan. He reached out to grab the Sky Bearing spear and roared hoarsely, "Ant, how dare you injure my body? I'll make sure you die without a complete corpse." Yi Qinghan pierced through the mountain rock with his saber and stood up with Zhongquang. The dragon blood dyed Zhongquang red. His black hair fluttered, and his aura became stronger and stronger. His ability to use force was becoming more and more proficient. Boom! Yi Qinghan was extremely domineering. He stepped into the sky with his blade and replied hoarsely, "Today, let's see if the 10 major constitutions can kill me without divine power." Swish! Swish! Yi Qinghan formed a seal with one hand and mobilized the seal of 10 directions to charge into the sky in an attempt to restrain the heaven-raising spear. In this situation, Yi Qinghan did not have the upper hand. After all, Qing Tian was a peak high-level high god, while Yi Qinghan had just broken through to high-level high god. He had not even stabilized his cultivation yet. Both of them had sovereign artifacts, but the heaven-raising spear and the heaven-raising war spear were a single entity. Yi Qinghan was still trying to figure out the peak combat power of the 10-direction seal. Atlas had his own pride, a pride that could not be insulted. Apart from the 10 great combat constitutions, he would not give it to anyone of the same rank in the world for free, including half-step lords. Whoosh! The 10 directions seal spun at high speed and shot toward Sky Pillar. Whoosh! Sky Pillar hurled his battle spear, pitting his sovereign artifact against his sovereign artifact. At his current level, he could not participate in a battle between sovereign artifacts at all. The battle spear emitted the might of a sovereign, directly cutting through the sky and splitting the plane. Everything within 10,000 miles trembled, as if an earthquake was coming. Thud! 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 Sky Pillar clenched his iron fists and charged toward Yi Qinghan with his bare hands. Yi Qinghan had no intention of fighting a fair battle. His goal today was to crush the heaven-raising battle constitution. Kill. Yi Qinghan tightened his grip on his long sword and stomped the ground with his foot. He was as fast as lightning as he viciously hacked at Sky Pillar. Sky Pillar was even faster. He tapped the air with the tip of his foot on the gravity craze and raised his leg to kick Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan swung his saber backwards, turning it from the bottom to the top. If this saber landed, it would definitely be able to split Sky Pillar in two. Sky Pillar had no choice but to withdraw his leg. He flipped his body and dodged the gravity craze. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not allow him to rest. He attacked more than 10 times consecutively, sealing Sky Pillar and forcing him to fly backward. I'll show you what the heaven-raising battle constitution is. Sky Pillar was furious. He grabbed the gravity craze in the air and tried to snatch the blade with his bare hands. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sky Pillar's hands kept changing hand seals. His figure flashed so fast that no one could track his movement. Boom! No matter how fast Yi Qinghan's blade moved, Sky Pillar could always track it. His left hand's 5 fingers gripped the tip of the gravity craze's blade tightly. His body stuck close to the gravity craze as he punched toward Yi Qinghan's throat. It was said that Qin Tian's powerful body was definitely not something from the chaotic era. The wind generated by Qin Tian's fist was enough to make Yi Qinghan's expression change. Even his powerful 5 elements Taoist body and dragon bloodline couldn't withstand Qin Tian's punch. Bang! Yi Qinghan's left hand grabbed the gravity craze, while his right elbow struck Sky Pillar's iron fist. There was a crisp crack. Yi Qinghan's hard elbow bone actually tore apart. However, with the support of God power, Sky Pillar's pain was indescribable. Crack! Sky Pillar's fist bone broke. His perlicue cracked. Bang! 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 Sky Pillar ignored his injuries and kicked 3 times. They were all blocked by Yi Qinghan's iron leg. Their leg bones were nearly broken. Boom! Gravity craze was sent flying by the two's explosive attacks. At this moment, they were fighting bare-handed. Both of them were close combat experts. They fought back and forth, completely ignoring their injuries. However, Yi Qinghan still had God power and the support of the God-breaking glove. Sky Pillar was forced to retreat. Yi Qinghan was bathed in flames. He attacked Sky Pillar with the 5 elements Tao body. Only then did he manage to force Sky Pillar's body back. It was clear how terrifying his body was. On the other side, the dragon spirit had transformed into a chaos dragon, and its oppressive aura made all living beings within 10,000 miles dare not move. And Ai Shuiyun did not have much divine power left, and now he had to face the chaos dragon. His blood and qi were stagnant, and he could not use the rest of his divine power. He was sent flying tens of thousands of miles away by the dragon spirit. His divine body exploded and his blood drowned him. Cough, 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 and Ai Shuiyun coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with blood. He had completely relied on his body to withstand the dragon spirit's peak attack. The dragon spirit now represented the giant dragon. If it was not for the fact that the dragon spirit could not use the chaos dragon's power, its tail could suppress a main god. Even the godhead could not escape. Unfortunately, the dragon spirit was too weak. Today is considered a failure. Escape. I will choose another opportunity next time. And Ai Shuiyun gritted his teeth and turned around. He did not use the last 10% of his strength to seize the dragon spirit's origin. Instead, he used it to protect himself. He was a smart person. Even if he obtained the dragon spirit's origin, he would not be able to enjoy it. It would only benefit others. The dragon spirit did not expect an Ai Shuiyun to escape after withstanding one attack. It was stunned. But the little golden crow would not be stunned. It turned around and pounced on Qing Tian. The two main god weapons in the sky tore through time and space, reversing yin and yang. Dark clouds covered the sky and caused a phenomenon. They were evenly matched, but the 10-direction seal was at a disadvantage. The golden crow joined the battle and spat out a mouthful of fire. Even Qing Tian had to be careful of the 16th grade fire origin. He was sent flying continuously. Then, the Pishio rushed out and attacked Qing Tian from all directions. No matter how strong his body was, he could not withstand such consumption. He was exhausted. He knew that there was no chance to kill Yi Qinghan now. Even if he used the battle spear to kill Yi Qinghan, he could not escape. Someone would definitely take the opportunity to kill him. Whoosh, Yi Qinghan, you are dead. I will cut off your head within 3 months. Qing Tian flew into the sky and took control of the heaven-raising battle spear. He left a ruthless sentence and directly disappeared into the void. Chapter 799. Although Sky Pillar had escaped, Yi Qinghan didn't feel the slightest bit of joy. He had finally experienced the terror of the so-called 10 Great Physique. No wonder the second sorcerer god wanted to kill him. When Wentian matured, would he really be able to suppress him? Yi Qinghan remained silent for a moment. He retracted berserk and allowed the golden crow and the other divine beasts to enter his body. Looking at the helpless appearance of the dragon spirit, he recalled how Long Songhai wanted to create an opportunity for him to escape even though he knew he was going to die. It was hard for his Tao heart to accept letting her go now. Come with me. We can't stay in the Sisui Plain any longer. I will send you to a safe place. Yi Qinghan spoke in a heavy voice. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and grabbed the dragon spirit. Their silhouettes flickered as they disappeared. The entire plain was in an uproar. Sky Pillar and Nishui Yun had joined forces to chase after Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit. Who would have thought that not only would they fail, they would even be injured? Was Yi Qinghan that strong? Tuoba Jiuxiao was dumbfounded. If he was in Yi Qinghan's shoes, he wouldn't be able to do this either. What did Yi Qinghan have? Daoist Jiushan also didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be able to escape with the dragon spirit. He couldn't imagine what method Yi Qinghan used to force the two experts to retreat. The secret behind this was probably only known by the few of them involved. Sky Pillar had a look of anger on his face. One of the 10 great physiques actually couldn't defeat Yi Qinghan. This time, everyone knew about it. Even the overgods came to ask about the situation. The Sky Pillar had become a laughingstock. And Ai Yun Duan's face was also ugly. Nishui Yun, who was known as the number 3 major power in the Sisui Plain, had personally made a move. In the end, he was injured and had to flee. This was an unbelievable situation. No one would be able to accept it. Third brother, what happened? Could it be that Yi Qinghan is stronger than you? And Ai Yun Duan's boss, the number 1 expert in the Sisui Plain, looked no more than 50 years old. He had a thin body, but his body was filled with ice-cold sword aura. The inverse sword aura roared and was extremely frightening. He was called Reverse Bone Sword. This wasn't his real name, but the reverse bone sword in his hand had replaced his name. He had fought his whole life and no one could survive his reverse bone sword. Just like Li Feng, he was a legend of an era. Don't mention it. That bastard was too fast. It was as if his divine power was inexhaustible. He carried me and the Atlas battle body for 3 days and 3 nights. His spirit pet, the devouring soul parrot, had a foul mouth that made me want to kill it. In the end, he was so angry that he exhausted the divine power of the Atlas battle body and me. Who knew that Yi Qinghan would suddenly turn around and attack me? I was injured by the chaos dragon formed by the dragon spirit. With the help of his spirit pet and the 10 directions seal, Yi Qinghan could barely beat the Atlas battle body. His battle strength was a complete mess, but I still fell in his hands. Nishui Yun roared angrily. Reverse Bone Sword was trembling with anger. How could this person's battle strength be considered a complete mess? He exhausted the two top existences with his divine power and still managed to come back. You exhausted your divine power, but Yi Qinghan's battle strength wasn't exhausted? In the end, he was still able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Atlas battle body. How could this be considered a complete mess? Seal all of the Sisui Plains portals and checkpoints. Capture Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit for me. Make no mistakes. Reverse Bone Sword growled. It was at this point that Nishui Yun's second brother, Lai Yun, walked over. He was a burly man who had been defeated by Reverse Bone Sword when he was young. The two of them had worked together to conquer this world, and their cultivation bases were unfathomable. They had only lost to Reverse Bone Sword once in their lives. Boss, I'm afraid the Chaos Dragon's essence won't be easy to get. It's a hot potato, and it'll drag Nishui Yun down with it. As long as I become a overgod, I can create the most powerful Nishui Yun in all of time. You'll be the strongest overgods in the world. As the saying goes, a horse won't get fat without eating grass at night, and a man won't get rich without a windfall. If we really want to defy the heavens, we have to be qualified, and a paramount godhood is the only qualification we have. For a paramount godhood, I'm willing to give up Nishui Yun, Reverse Bone Sword said firmly. Very well. We'll split up and capture Yi Qinghan and Long Ling. Once we succeed, we'll gather at the same place and leave Sisui realm. Lai Yun nodded and decided to give up on Nishui Yun. He would participate in the battle between the two major factions and not help anyone. He would only take advantage of the situation and seize the Chaos Dragon's essence. The Wild Sect had just been brought back by Divine Instrument Sect, and the entire Sisui realm was in chaos. Powerhouses emerged one after another, and the world thought that the old monsters who had been hiding for thousands of years were dead. However, they had reappeared and attacked mercilessly. Even the half-step overgods did not dare to act recklessly, for fear of offending Yi Go, who had not appeared in 10,000 years. The overgods were still suppressing themselves and had not made a move. Now that the overgods were about to appear, chaos would ensue. Divine Instrument Sect and Divine Fire City were occupied by the Wild Sect, and they were very close to the inner sect of Divine Instrument Sect. This was also to make it easier for Taoist Jiushan to protect the Wild Sect. The Wild Sect had yet to understand what had happened, and they were already embroiled in the flames of war. Many people were prepared to capture the Wild Sect members to force Yi Qinghan to show himself. At the moment, Emperor Yi was summoned by Taoist Jiushan, and he was meeting him in Divine Instrument Palace. "You're Yi Qinghan's wife, Emperor Yi?" Taoist Jiushan asked in a dignified manner. Emperor Yi nodded, not understanding what was going on. "Yi Qinghan has been tainted by karma, and I'm afraid it'll affect the Wild Sect. It's best if you don't go out or separate yourself. If you need any resources, just tell me. I'll do my best to satisfy you," Taoist Jiushan said in a deep voice. Huajun had brought the Wild Sect members here, so he had to take on the responsibility of protecting them. If Yi Qinghan was a good-for-nothing, perhaps Taoist Jiushan would not care. However, Yi Qinghan was not a good-for-nothing. He had even escaped from under the noses of so many powerhouses. If the Wild Sect were to be harmed, Divine Instrument Sect would have to take responsibility. "Senior, what's wrong with my husband? What karma has he been tainted by?" Emperor Yi was shocked. Even someone like Taoist Jiushan was so serious. It seemed that Yi Qinghan had caused a lot of trouble this time. Sigh, he has activated the origin of the Chaos Dragon. This is a good thing for the Sorcerer tribe, but it's a disaster for him. The Sorcerer tribe is still at a disadvantage, and the Master God will not protect him. He can only rely on himself now, Taoist Jiushan sighed. Emperor Yi returned to the territory occupied by the Wild Sect and told everyone about his current realm. Everyone tried to find joy in his misery and teased him. "Brother Yi is a jinx. Wherever he goes, there's a gust of wind." "Ha ha, now that you mention it, my father is right. I haven't seen him idle for so many years." Yi Chentian laughed. "What do you know? This is called causing trouble. I'm so envious of my father. When he's escaping, he can still bring a beauty with him. I don't think he'll be lonely along the way." Yi Yun'er joked. Emperor Yi snorted and did not say much. He only restricted the juniors from leaving the inner sect without permission. Divine Instrument sect was a giant after all. They were also the representatives of the sorcerer tribe. Even the devilish would not dare to attack them. They were safe in Divine Flame City. Yi Qinghan was currently hiding deep within a mountain with the dragon spirit. He was trying to figure out a safe place to send the dragon spirit to. The path to the artifact sect must have been blocked, and going back would be like walking right into a trap. However, there was nowhere for them to set foot in this vast and boundless world. Chapter 800. White clouds, blue sky, deep mountains, and ferocious beasts roaring from time to time, shaking the mountains. Yi Qinghan stared at the mountains and rivers, remaining silent for a long time. Dragon Spirit did not dare to speak either. She had no experience traveling the world, and Shui Yun'er had always been the one to take her everywhere. Once no one took her, she would be like a headless fly. "I can't stay in the Sisui realm any longer. I'll rest for the day and leave at night. I'll go to the subsidiary realm of the Sisui realm, the Gaussian realm. This realm is connected to several small realms. I can attack and escape from it." Yi Qinghan looked at the star map and studied all the realms near the Sisui realm. Only the Gaussian realm was the most suitable, so he said to Dragon Spirit, "I'll do as you say." Dragon Spirit had no objections. Yi Qinghan frowned. It would be difficult for her to take on the Chaos Dragon's origin, but since the Chaos Dragon's origin was attached to her, it must be God's will. He could not take it by force. Dragon Spirit leaned on Yi Qinghan and fell asleep. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, was cultivating diligently, comprehending the arcane rules and origin. After recovering all his divine power, he took out the secret history of chaos and learned about the top 10 battle constitutions. The Atlas was the only other battle constitution besides the ethereal constitution, so he must find its fatal flaw. The Atlas had an unparalleled physical body. It could hold up the sky and subdue demons. It was highly compatible with the great path of heaven and earth, so there was almost no need to cultivate. When it reached adulthood, it could inherit all the secret skills of the first generation of the Atlas as well as the Chaos Force. There was a fundamental difference between the powers used by the people of this era and the powers used by the people of this era. They used Chaos Void power, which was clearly a level higher than Divine power. Currently, all Qing Tian possessed was still a relatively low-level Divine power. Once he became a half-step lord, it was very likely that it would evolve into Chaos Void power. By then, apart from lords, no one would be able to compete with him for glory. Ranked 9th was the Sun-Moon battle body. Once this battle body was used, the sun and moon would appear at the same time, and the world would submit to him. He could mobilize the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, and borrow the power of the world to destroy his enemies. He could almost fight against the son of a paramount god and remain undefeated. This person was still part of the great demonic god's bloodline. The son of the Chaos Dragon was not like the Paixio, but a real dragon. The Paixio was just the son of the dragon, there was still a gap between them. Ranked 8th was the Celestial Treasure battle body, which was divided into 3 stages. The first was the primary stage, where the user could turn ordinary objects into treasures. For a genius like him, there was no need to worry about resources at all. He could raise a huge army by himself. The second stage was the intermediate stage, where the divine treasures in the world could not escape his control. All divine objects with spirituality would automatically attach themselves to him. When it came to the third stage, it was terrifying. He could directly control the chi and blood in the enemy's body, as well as all kinds of magic treasures and divine objects inside them. If the opponent couldn't even control their own godhead, how could they fight? This kind of existence was only ranked 8th, which showed how terrifying the top 7 battle bodies were. This celestial treasure battle body did not belong to the two camps. He did not need to rely on anyone. Both camps were fighting for him, but he did not need to beg anyone. He did not care about the two camps at all. He rarely participated in battles, which led to his ranking being very low. Yi Qinghan looked at this celestial treasure battle body and felt that this kind of person should not be ranked 8. This was a cheat-like battle body, but the heavens were not jealous. This kind of person was the son of the heavens. How could his combat power be ranked 8th? It was not impossible for him to become a supreme god, because he did not lack treasures. His ability to prolong his life was probably even more terrifying than a supreme god. In addition, he did not participate in the battle back then. It was still unknown whether the first-generation celestial treasure battle body had died or not. Night fell. Dark clouds covered the sky as if a storm was coming. There was no light in the ink-like night sky. Yi Qinghan took the dragon spirit and began to move in the direction of the Gao-Xian small plain. At the moment, every main city's gate in the Sisui plain was heavily guarded. Powerhouses were guarding them to prevent Yi Qinghan from escaping through the gate. The city gates were also tightly guarded. As soon as Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit appeared, they would definitely be discovered. Yi Qinghan disappeared without a trace. The heroes could only wait for Yi Qinghan to deliver himself to them. The half-step lords guarded their own gate and pass. The independent cultivators wandered outside the pass, waiting for Yi Qinghan to appear. However, for a month, Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit seemed to have disappeared. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Sky Pillar was furious. The threat he left behind back then was not empty talk. He really wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. Sky Pillar held a spear in his hand and wore golden armor. He appeared in the upper plains Divine Devil City and walked around. There were many half-step lords, but no one dared to provoke him. On a street, a white-haired old man dressed in shabby clothes had a broken bowl in front of him and a flag by his side. No one knew what era this flag was from. It was so shabby that the words on it could not be made out. However, if one looked closely, they could still make out the words on it. The Oracle. Let's go and have a look. I can divine the mysteries of heaven and earth and the 9 hells. It's unfathomable, but I can divine it. If it's not right, it's free. If it's right, I'll ask for a Lord Divine Core. The Oracle stroked his white beard, looking like a transcendent being. However, his clothes, which were almost smelly, were really unflattering. Moreover, the price of divination was a little too high. He actually asked for a Lord Divine Core. Many people knew about the Oracle and were already used to it. Old man, don't you think you're being too ruthless? There are only so many sovereign sparks in total. Apart from the innate 3,500 sovereign sparks, the remaining ones are the result of painstakingly cultivating for the sake of some monstrously talented geniuses. Even after all these years, there probably aren't even 100 of them. And yet, you're asking for one? Is this the end of the world? A middle-aged man asked in disdain. Naturally, someone will take the bait when I divine. Don't spout nonsense if you don't understand. Is it too much for me to ask for a Lord Divine Core? The Oracle raised his brows and said disdainfully. Hee, if you have a customer, I'll kneel down and kowtow to you 3 times, the man mocked. Then watch carefully. I observed the sky last night and knew that an important guest would come today, so I'll send over a Lord Divine Core, the Oracle said calmly. At that moment, Sky Pillar came over with his spear and said coldly, Your divination is very accurate. I'm that important guest. As long as you help me divine a person's whereabouts, I'll give you a Lord Divine core immediately. Swish. Sky Pillar waved his hand, and a sparkling, translucent godhood appeared, dazzling in the sunlight. This godhood was slightly larger than ordinary godhoods, and had different runes on it. Clearly, this was a Lord Divine core. A Lord Divine core that was rarely seen even in 10,000 years, and Sky Pillar was willing to use it in exchange for Yi Qinghan's whereabouts. Ha ha ha, the Sky Pillar battle body really is different. You're so generous. The oracle laughed loudly, squinting at Sky Pillar as he stared at the Lord Divine core. Only his name, Yi Qinghan. He has a woman by his side, Dragon Spirit. Tell me where they are, and I'll give you this godhood. I guarantee that no one will dare to take it from you, Sky Pillar said in a low voice. No birthdate, no horoscope, and no clothes? The oracle frowned. Let's see what you're capable of. Aren't you known for being able to divine the mysteries of heaven and earth, as well as the 9 serenities underworld? Sky Pillar said coldly. The oracle coughed dryly, then looked up into the sky and muttered something. No one knew what he was saying. The profound mysteries of order revolved around him, and space-time runes were changing. Although the burly man recognized the oracle, he had never seen him perform divination. Today was the first time, and he couldn't help but be surprised. This old man really did have some skill. The oracle frowned, occasionally surprised. After a while, he said in a low voice, "It's not that I don't have skill, but that this person isn't part of the 5 elements. He stands outside of the laws, and even dragon spirits' whereabouts have been concealed. However, I've divined that they are in the Surishui plane." Sky Pillar didn't make things difficult for him. The oracle was able to divine Yi Qinghan's location in the Surishui plane with just his name. It seemed that he was quite capable, but what Sky Pillar needed was a specific location. Chapter 801. Sky Pillar looked at Master God Diviner and extended a finger, causing a drop of blood to appear in his palm. It was golden and emanated a powerful draconic aura. That's Yi Qinghan's blood. You should be able to calculate their exact location now, right? Sky Pillar asked coldly. When he had fought Yi Qinghan, both of them had bathed in a river of blood. It wasn't much for Sky Pillar to collect a drop of Yi Qinghan's blood. It was just ordinary blood, not blood essence. That's good. Fellow Taoist, take me to the Surishui plane. I'll be able to find Yi Qinghan's exact location in an hour. Master God Diviner stared at the godhood excitedly, convinced that he had to get his hands on it. Sky Pillar nodded and tossed the godhood to Master God Diviner. Don't disappoint me or the consequences will be dire. Ah. Master God Diviner laughed heartily. How could I possibly dare to lie to the Sky Pillar battle body? Sky Pillar didn't say anything else and simply turned to leave. Master God Diviner looked at the burly man and grinned. Kid, remember to kowtow 3 times to me. Once I find Yi Qinghan and refine the godhood, I'll come and collect it. With that, Master God Diviner followed the Sky Pillar battle body into the Skyspan Realm River. At the same time, Yi Qinghan was leading the dragon spirit toward a minor plane, moving faster and faster to avoid crowds. He didn't even want to enter a small city. Suddenly, Yi Qinghan's heart began to race. It was as though something big was about to happen. At his level of cultivation, he had a certain premonition for danger. For him to have such a strong reaction meant that something dangerous was about to happen. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He knew that something big was about to happen. Give me the Chaos Dragon's essence. Yi Qinghan extended his hand without hesitation. The dragon spirit was stunned. It looked at Yi Qinghan's cold eyes, and it didn't seem like he was joking. After a moment of hesitation, it forced out the Chaos Dragon's essence. A golden essence appeared in its palm, and it delivered it to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan put away the Chaos Dragon's origin and said in a deep voice, "I'll send you to the Netherworld plane. Without the Chaos Dragon's origin, no one will chase after you. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest of your journey." After that, Yi Qinghan took out his teleportation token and tried to contact Nine Nether. However, Nine Nether's message talisman was still closed. He couldn't reach him at all. He could only settle for the next best thing, which was to contact Grand Monarch Shura. When Grand Monarch Shura learned that Yi Qinghan had a favor to ask of him, he went to Nine Serenity's palace in person. Nine Serenities didn't enter the Sisui realm in person. He sent Grand Monarch Shura there. As soon as he entered the Sisui realm, Grand Monarch Shura saw Yi Qinghan's anxious appearance and couldn't help but ask, "Master is in seclusion and can't help you." "He asked me to help you." "What happened to you?" "It's not a big deal. Take care of her for me and bring her to the Netherworld plane. I'll pick her up later," Yi Qinghan said, then turned and rushed into the distance. He couldn't lose the Chaos Dragon's origin. Once Nine Serenities learned that Yi Qinghan had the Chaos Dragon's origin, he might even fight for it. At this time, he could only rely on himself. He couldn't trust anyone. As soon as Yi Qinghan fled, Sky Pillar appeared in the Sisui realm with Master Godly Mathematician. Master Godly Mathematician arranged the 8 trigrams and mobilized the profound mysteries. The spatial fluctuations became more and more obvious. Yi Qinghan's drop of blood began to erupt, affecting the aura of Yi Qinghan's main body hundreds of millions of miles away. The trajectory became clearer and clearer. Yi Qinghan could sense that someone was using his blood to track him. Unless he underwent blood transfusion rebirth, he couldn't escape the other party's tracking. Now, he could only speed up and run as far as possible to escape the other party's detection. After an incense stick's worth of time, Master Godly Mathematician withdrew his aura and said in a deep voice, "The dragon spirit is dead, but the Chaos Dragon's origin is still with Yi Qinghan." However, Yi Qinghan has already approached the edge of the Sisui realm and rushed towards the border river. "The dragon spirit is dead?" Sky Pillar frowned. He wasn't worried that the Chaos Dragon's origin was with the dragon spirit. How much combat strength could a woman exert? However, with Yi Qinghan there was no limit. The dragon spirit was indeed dead. Her soul had been taken away by Grand Monarch Shura to the Netherworld realm. The Chaos Dragon's origin had disappeared, so the experts wouldn't be interested in her. Their main target was Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan approached the Gaussian realm. He took out a flow boat and forcibly crossed the border river, entering a small realm. Sky Pillar opened a realm gate and chased him to the Gaussian realm. Master Godly Mathematician was also at his side. No matter how hard Yi Qinghan fled, he couldn't escape Sky Pillar's control. "Find the specific location," Sky Pillar said coldly. Sky Pillar appeared in the sky above the Gaussian realm like a god. He released his divine sense and controlled the entire realm. As long as Yi Qinghan appeared, there was no way he could escape. Master Godly Mathematician divined again, but this time, no matter how Yi Qinghan's drop of blood erupted, he couldn't sense the location of Yi Qinghan's main body. He couldn't help but be shocked. This had never happened before. How can this be? Who exactly is this person? Master Godly Mathematician was aghast. There were no more than 21 people who could break free from the primal chaos divine art's tracking. They were the paramount gods of the primal chaos era. Unless Yi Qinghan was the reincarnation of one of those 21 paramount gods. Interesting. He can evade my divine sense and hide from Master Godly Mathematician's divine art. Sky Pillar sneered and appeared in the palace of the Gaussian realm's master. He looked at the master of the realm and said coldly, "Do you need me to introduce myself?" "Greetings, esteemed lord. I didn't know you were coming and didn't welcome you. Please forgive me." When the Master of the Realm saw Sky Pillar's aura, he knew that he was an irresistible existence. Although he didn't know how to address him, he didn't dare to offend him. This seat is Sky Pillar. I'm here to capture a criminal. This person is a high-level high deity. His name is Yi Qinghan. Sky Pillar waved his hand and revealed Yi Qinghan's appearance. He then said, seal off the Gaussian realm and search every house. Don't miss a single corner of the realm. If you see this person, report back to me immediately. I will reward you handsomely. The Gaussian realm was immediately mobilized. The army was mobilized and began a carpet search. They spread from the city to the mountains and villages. The Master of the Realm had personally given the order. Even the villagers and hunters began to join the search. Yi Qinghan was currently sitting cross-legged in the depths of a mountain. He was refining the Chaos Dragon's quintessence. The blood in his body was stagnant, and there were no energy fluctuations at all. Thus, Master Godly Mathematician's divine art was ineffective. He couldn't find any trace of Yi Qinghan. The Chaos Dragon's quintessence used the Dragon's quintessence as the foundation and began to refine the true Chaos Dragon's quintessence. Its restrained aura was gradually spreading. The star-twining vine took root beside Yi Qinghan, and its lush green vines covered the sky and the sun. It covered the entire valley and concealed the dragon's aura. The dragon's quintessence was changing. Yi Qinghan didn't need to waste any time. He allowed the Chaos Dragon's quintessence to refine the quintessence. The patterns and internal space were all changing. The Chaos Dragon's quintessence began to derive the Chaos Dragon's secret technique. Dragon Nirvana. Chapter 802. The secret technique used by the Chaos Colossal Dragon was the Colossal Dragon's Nirvana technique. What was Nirvana? It was rebirth from the brink of death, transcending life and death, and reaching the highest realm, becoming immortal and indestructible. The Nirvana of the Colossal Dragon had a total of 6 realms. Back then, the Chaos Colossal Dragon had only cultivated to the 5th realm. Even until his death, he had not cultivated to the realm of immortality. The first stage was the giant dragon swallowing the sun and the moon. The second stage was the giant dragon splitting heaven and earth. The third stage was the giant dragon reversing yin and yang. The fourth stage was the giant dragon transforming life and death. The fifth stage was the giant dragon nirvana. The sixth stage was the legendary giant dragon immortality. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan's blood essence began to flow slowly. No matter how hard he tried to suppress it, he could not suppress the Chaos Dragon's origin. Draconic blood roiled, completely transforming into Chaos Dragon essence blood. Its entire body was crimson yellow, and draconic scales covered the surface of its skin, forming the most terrifying defense. Even a sovereign weapon might not necessarily be able to break through it. Countless supreme-grade god crystals were taken out. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry to break through to the next realm. Instead, he started the most basic refinement of his physical body and opened up the space within his godhead. At first, Master God Diviner had been so angry that he had been humiliated that he couldn't find Yi Qinghan even after dozens of divinations. Now that he had given up, Yi Qinghan's blood began to flow again. Otherwise, he would have tried again to find Yi Qinghan. The Master of the Plane mobilized the power of the entire plane. A sea of people covered the sky and covered the earth, all in hopes of finding Yi Qinghan. After all, Anai Yunduan was the current boss of the Sisui plane. He soon learned that Sky High had brought a clairvoyant into the High Fresh plane. Reverse Bone Sword and Lai Yun worked together to sneak into the High Fresh plane. They didn't look for him in a high-profile manner. Instead, they hid in the dark and waited for the right time to compete with Sky High for the Chaos Dragon's origin. Reversing Bone Sword and Lai Yun arrived at a small inn and sat by the window in a private room. Once Yi Qinghan shows up, the Reversing Bone Sword said. You keep Heaven Pillar busy while I kill Yi Qinghan. Once I get his essence, I'll come back and kill Master God Diviner. He can't be left alive. Once I kill him, Heaven Pillar will leave, and I'll be free to fly. Boss, are we going to separate after this? Lai Yun asked in a low voice. When the time comes, both factions will come looking for me. Therefore, the less you know, the better. After you succeed, immediately go into seclusion and hide in the mountains for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, I will help you obtain the two most powerful essences, and even help you obtain the paramount godhood. The three of us brothers will not betray you even to the point of death. Reversing Bone's sword said resolutely. Boss, I wish you success. Lai Yun nodded. Deep in the mountains, Yi Qinghan's dragon godhead was finally completed after a day and a night. His hair was now golden, and his dragon scales had transformed into a suit of armor. The wind was biting cold, and dark clouds covered the sky above. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and blasted into the mountains. Whoosh! The mountain exploded and split into pieces. Then, countless bolts of lightning descended at the same time, shocking the plain. Yi Qinghan was bathed in lightning. He clenched his fist and didn't dodge, allowing the lightning to cleanse his body. The 12 godhoods spun in his sea of consciousness, and the myriad laws of heaven and earth transformed into primal chaos energy that filled the godhoods. With the primal chaos dragon godhood, there was no energy that Yi Qinghan couldn't absorb. All energy came from the primal chaos. With the primal chaos dragon essence, his energy was inexhaustible. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's constitution was dozens of times stronger than Atlas's. If the 10 great physiques were glorious, then the primal chaos dragon essence was the legendary supreme constitution. Once the primal chaos dragon appeared, apart from a paramount god, who could contend against it, the primal chaos dragon essence in the dragon spirit could barely bring out 10,000th of its power. But in Yi Qinghan's body, it could cause the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend. Atlas frowned. He stomped on the ground and soared into the sky. His spear tore through the shackles and charged toward the mountain where Yi Qinghan was. The reverse bone sword's figure flashed and was 30% faster than Atlas. Lai Yun rose into the sky and charged toward Atlas. Boom! There was a deafening roar of thunder. Countless bolts of lightning tore through the darkness. Thousands of bolts of lightning struck at the same time, drowning the mountain range. Countless mountains were razed to the ground. Smoke rose and fire spread. Get lost! Atlas roared. His battle spear charged toward Lai Yun with a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. It was unstoppable as it pressed toward Lai Yun. Boom! Lai Yun was extremely powerful. His sword pierced through the clouds, shattering Atlas's aura as they clashed. Their silhouettes flashed and crossed thousands of miles in an instant. It was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. It had to be said that Atlas was too powerful. As an advanced stage supreme god, he was able to fight a half-step lord. Moreover, he was the second in command of the reverse bone sword. Yet, he still had the upper hand. Apart from the combat constitution, who else could do this? The reverse bone sword held a sharp sword and quietly appeared outside the lightning. His eyes were like lightning tearing through the shackles. He stared at Yi Qinghan in the depth. Yi Qinghan stretched out his 10 fingers and clenched his fist. He was baptized by the lightning. He could not help but sneer and think to himself, "Thank you for doing all this for me. As long as I seize the godhead and refine its origin, I can save a lot of time." Whoosh! The reverse bone sword was unsheathed. The sword aura pierced through the realm and charged toward Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and swung his sword. His aura swept thousands of miles and lifted the shackles of the great path. Boom! With a sweep of the sword, nothing could stop it. Buzz! Buzz! An ear-piercing sound traveled thousands of miles. The Gaussian realm fell into despair, as if the end of the world had arrived. Yi Qinghan's 12 godheads poured out at the same time, instantly erupting with the might of a half-step lord. The sword gleam cut through the dimension and illuminated the mountains and rivers. It collided directly with the divine sword. Boom! Yi Qinghan's aura was irresistible. It sent the reverse bone sword flying. The collision of the two powerhouses' auras soared into the galaxy, flattening everything within thousands of miles. The reverse bone sword was dizzy from the impact. The web between his thumb and forefinger split open, and blood stained the blue sky. Impossible! The reverse bone sword was shocked. He was sent flying backward in the void, and flipped continuously. He only managed to stabilize himself after flying thousands of miles. He looked at Yi Qinghan in horror. With the whistle of a sword, Yi Qinghan stepped forward with his sword held horizontally. His long golden hair fluttered, and his sword shone for thousands of miles. His aura soared into the clouds, stirring up a tragic melody. Nothing is impossible. I've been chased by you for so long. It's my turn now. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like lightning, piercing through the void. He raised his long sword and moved as fast as lightning. Tens of thousands of figures charged at the reverse bone sword from all directions. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When one's speed reached its peak, the enemy could not resist. The void shattered, and countless sword gleams were physical attacks. The reverse bone sword did not know which attack was Yi Qinghan's main bodies. He could only unleash all his strength and shatter all the sword gleams at all costs. In that instant, 30% of his combat strength had been consumed. Bang! Yi Qinghan's main body attacked from above. His sword energy cut through the dimension and slammed into the reverse bone sword, smashing him into the ground. A huge crater appeared in the ground. A shrill scream alerted Qing Tian and Lai Yun in the distance. The two gave up on fighting and turned to look at Yi Qinghan. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 803. Yi Qinghan stood on the reversing bone sword and wielded berserk. The scene was different from what everyone had imagined. Lai Yun and Sky Pillar stopped fighting. He controls the Chaos Dragon's origin. How long has it been? Sky Pillar was furious. He was the inheritor of the Sky Pillar battle constitution. He had cultivated for thousands of years, but he could not even bring out 1/10 of his battle constitution's power. How could Yi Qinghan control the Chaos Dragon's origin in just half a month? Boss! Lai Yun was shocked. Only he, who had followed Yi Qinghan for hundreds of thousands of years, knew how strong the reversing bone sword was. He did not dare to say that he was unparalleled among his peers, but apart from his battle constitution, he was definitely one of the strongest among his peers. Yet, he could not withstand a single strike from Yi Qinghan. Just how strong was Yi Qinghan now? Boom! Yi Qinghan looked down on everyone. His golden hair pierced through the void, and his foot crushed mountains and rivers. It was as if the entire Gaussian realm was trembling. Those who had been looking for Yi Qinghan now realized how lucky they were that they had not found Yi Qinghan yet. Sky Pillar, you can escape once, but you can't escape a second time. Yi Qinghan coldly stared at Sky Pillar. It was as if a sharp weapon had pierced through his defenses, making his hair stand on end. Sky Pillar retreated with his spear. It was not that he was not strong enough, but that the Chaos Dragon's origin was one level stronger than the 10 battle constitutions. No matter how much Yi Qinghan controlled and what the side effects of forcibly absorbing the Chaos Dragon's origin were, he was no match for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, you're courting death. All overgods have their own legacies. Anyone who tries to forcibly steal the essence of a primal Chaos Dragon will only end up dead. They will suffer a backlash from the essence of the primal Chaos Dragon. If I were you, I would expel the essence of the primal Chaos Dragon, Skypillar warned coldly. Let's talk after I kill you. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and stomped on the ground. With a horizontal slash, space and time were torn apart. The Gaussian realm was actually shattered by this slash. Boom! A deep gully stretched for thousands of miles. There was no end in sight and no beginning in sight. How could Qing Tian dare to take it head-on? He flew backward and rolled several hundred meters on the ground, barely dodging Yi Qinghan's blade. He then turned around and fled, tearing through the void. His figure flashed past at an extremely fast speed. Ha 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 ha! Yi Qinghan, just you wait for the backlash from the great dragon's essence. You killed the dragon spirit and ended a powerful successor of the shaman tribe. How ignorant, but I will thank you. Qing Tian laughed loudly, and the moment he disappeared, he left behind a sentence. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan cleaved through the air with his saber, ignoring all illusions. It was as if he could see the true body of Qing Tian. The saber radiance illuminated the sky and penetrated into the different space. Boom! The saber struck Qing Tian's back, almost snapping Qing Tian in half. Puff! Qing Tian spurted out blood and his face turned pale. He used a forbidden technique and disappeared without a trace. Yi Qinghan turned around and looked at Lai Yun. He found that not only did he not run away, but he also ran to where the reverse bone sword was. He carried the sword out of the deep pit and looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. Just as he was about to draw his saber and kill Lai Yun, a tearing pain came from his head, as if his soul was being destroyed by the great dragon's essence. Ah! Yi Qinghan held his head and screamed. Only then did he know that Qing Tian was telling the truth. The overgods all had their own successors, and whoever dared to steal their successors would suffer from the crazy backlash from the chaos origin. This was an unspoken curse of the overgods. Everyone knew that the successors of the overgods could be killed, but they could not steal their origins. Otherwise, they would suffer from the backlash. Don't use the power of the Chaos Dragon for now. Calm down. It's best if you don't even use your divine power, the divine bird suddenly said. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and used the soul-suppressing orb to maintain his last bit of consciousness. He stared coldly at Lai Yun and said, "Get lost. Don't challenge my bottom line." Lai Yun understood Qing Tian's last sentence. He thought that it was just to scare Yi Qinghan, but he did not expect it to be true. He did not care about the Chaos Dragon's essence. There was no benefit in fighting for it now. He carried the reverse bone sword and fled toward the water surface. Boom! Yi Qinghan fell to his knees and hugged Quang Zhong while enduring the tearing pain in his soul. The soul-suppressing orb could only help a little. If it were not for the soul-suppressing orb, the backlash from the Chaos Dragon's essence would have killed him instantly. Huff, huff, huff! Yi Qinghan breathed heavily. His eyes were bleeding golden blood. His heart was beating like thunder, and half of the high fresh plain could hear it. The master of the plain watched from afar but did not dare to approach. Is there really a backlash from the Chaos Dragon's essence? Yi Qinghan asked in a hoarse voice. The divine bird ran out. After thinking for a long time, it shook its head and said, "When it comes to matters involving the overgods, no one except those with battle constitutions knows. If there's no other way, just expel the Chaos Dragon's essence." I can't expel it. At least until I reach the overgod level, I won't be able to separate the essence. Yi Qinghan's voice changed. His soul was in pain. His godhead felt like it was being crushed by a great force and was about to shatter. Damn it! How can this Chaos Dragon's essence not even distinguish between good and bad? The divine bird was anxious. It had followed Yi Qinghan for so long and had grown from a mortal to a high-level overgod. Was it going to die at the hands of the Chaos Dragon's essence? Pishio, take me away first. Yi Qinghan did not dare to use any divine power to stimulate the Chaos Dragon's essence. He had to leave this place and find a safe place first. The Pishio rushed out of his body and turned into its true form. It carried Yi Qinghan and tore through the void and left. Qing Tian thought that as long as the Chaos Dragon's essence attacked, Yi Qinghan would definitely die. Therefore, he publicly announced the death of Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit, causing a huge uproar. This was especially true for the sorcerer tribe. The inheritor of the Chaos Dragon's essence had died. This was a loss that could not be recovered. Taoist Jiu Shan did not believe it and personally went to Emperor Yi to ask. Emperor Yi held Yi Qinghan's life token and found that the light of the life token was fluctuating. There were obvious cracks on it, indicating that Yi Qinghan was in a very dangerous situation. I'm going out. Listen to Elder Gu Qingyu's orders. Before I return, no one is allowed to leave the inner sect. Emperor Yi only had Yi Qinghan's life token with him. However, he left his own life token with Yi Qinghan. He secretly told him that if his life token broke, it would mean that Yi Qinghan was dead. He told him to bring the insane sect back to the Endless Plains. Emperor Yi left the Sisui Plain and went to the High Fresh Plain first. His soul was highly focused as he tried to sense Yi Qinghan's location. Their souls were connected and ignored the restrictions of time and space. No matter where Yi Qinghan was, Emperor Yi could clearly sense him. No matter how far away he was, he could vaguely sense him. Emperor Yi pursued the Pishio closely, unwilling to give up. Half a year later, the life token in Emperor Ye's hand dimmed completely. However, it was not completely broken. This meant that Yi Qinghan had fallen into a coma and was only half a step away from death. Emperor Yi was shocked. He sped up and finally caught up with the Pishio at the edge of the universe. Chapter 804. Yi Qinghan disappeared as if he was really dead. 1 year, 2 years, there was no news of him. Gradually, everyone forgot about him. Only the people in the inner sect knew that as long as Emperor Ye's life tablet was not broken, Yi Qinghan was not dead. Once Yi Qinghan died, Emperor Yi would definitely follow. This was the undying relationship between them. After the Sisui realm was dead silent, the appearance of a figure completely disrupted the world's understanding. That was Li Feng. He did not know where he had been all these years. He only knew that when he returned to the mythical realm to look for Yi Qinghan, he learned that Yi Qinghan had waited for 3 years before leaving the realm and entering the Sisui realm. Hence, he came with a sword. His arrival reminded people of Yi Qinghan. When he learned that Yi Qinghan had died, his eyebrows twitched. He did not say a word and directly went to find Qing Tian, who was ranked 10th. 9 battles Tianya Peak, a battlefield of death in the Sisui realm. The two were separated by 1,000 feet. One held a sword, the other a spear. They were as cold as ice and expressionless. Did you kill Yi Qinghan? Li Feng asked. Yes, you want to avenge him? Qing Tian looked at Li Feng with disdain. How could a mortal body that was not even comparable to Yi Qinghan fight with him? No, I don't have the identity to avenge him. He just owes me a battle. Since you can kill him, then take this battle for him. Li Feng unsheathed his sword. The sword radiance shot up and shattered the 9 heavens, alarming the strong people in the Sisui realm. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, many well-known strong people arrived. Reverse Bone Sword, Lai Yun, Taoist Jiushan, Emosha with just you? Qing Tian asked disdainfully. With the sword in my hand, the one who will kill you is Li Feng. Li Feng's big hand trembled. A 3-foot breeze shattered the void. It was as if everything had turned into a sword and everything was controlled by his sword aura. Whoosh! Li Feng made his move. He was only a silhouette, but it was impossible to guard against him. He was so fast that he was a demon. That slash was as easy and elegant as when he had killed hundreds of divine beasts of the Xuanzong sect. At that moment, Qing Tian, who was known as one of the 10 chaotic war constitution, was swaying in the rain of blood like those divine beasts. He was unable to struggle and could be annihilated by the storm at any time. Boom! The sword hit Atlas's spear, but it didn't break. It relied on the invincible sword chi to break through the spear's defense and into Atlas's chest. Bang! Puff! Qing Tian was sent flying, coughing up blood. The spear in his hand erupted with power, blocking Li Feng's sword for him. His powerful counterattack had actually broken Li Feng's sword. The broken sword pierced the sky. Li Feng was sent flying. He somersaulted and landed firmly where he was. His hair fluttered slightly as if he had not moved at all. The people standing outside inhaled sharply and looked at Li Feng in disbelief. Although Qing Tian was only a supreme god, his combat strength was on par with a half-step lord. He might not be a match for Taoist Jiushan, but he was definitely on par with a top-notch half-step lord. However, in Li Feng's hands, he could only be sent flying by the lord weapon in his hand. He was even pierced by the sword chi and was bleeding profusely. Impossible! Which combat constitution do you have? Qing Tian was furious. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He felt that he had been fooled. What combat constitution? I don't understand. All I know is that the sword in my hand is my will. Li Feng put away the sword in his hand right away. He formed hand seals with both hands and mobilized 7 godhead. The light was so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. The 7 godheads transformed into a divine sword. Divine light flowed, causing the half-step lord to stumble 3 steps back. What kind of damn secret technique is this? I've never seen anyone use a godhead as a sword. Doesn't he need to hide his soul in his godhead? Perhaps he's confident that no one can block his sword, so he doesn't need to defend himself at all. A few half-step lords outside discussed in shock. Qing Tian's face was ashen. The top 10 combat constitutions were a ranking personally arranged by the Supreme God. Apart from the Supreme Gods, the combat constitutions were the most powerful. He had lost to Yi Qinghan because he had forcefully plundered the Chaos Dragon's origin. However, he had lost to Li Feng because he would make the Atlas combat constitution despise him. Perhaps everyone would despise him for tarnishing the Atlas combat constitution. I'll let you experience what a Atlas combat constitution is. Whoosh! Qing Tian soared into the sky with his godly armor and spear. He was like a Atlas combat god standing tall. He was bathed in divine light like a blinding sun. All living beings in the entire realm could see him just by looking up. Instead of relying on a combat constitution, I might as well rely on myself. Li Feng was calm. He held the godhead longsword in his hand and crushed the ground with his foot. His figure rose abruptly and charged directly at the Atlas combat constitution that was like a scorching sun. Boom! 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 The two of them fought fiercely at extreme speeds. Despite relying on his chief god weapon, Qing Tian could only barely fight to a draw with Li Feng. He might even lose by a hair's breadth. This shocked everyone. For the first time, people began to question the Supreme God's words and combat constitutions. Was it because Qing Tian had not unleashed his Atlas combat constitution, or was Li Feng already so monstrous that he could defy the heavens? This kid is simply... Taoist Master Jiushan's hands trembled slightly. He did not know how to describe Li Feng. He was the most powerful being of the same rank that he had ever seen. If he were given a chief god weapon, Li Feng could definitely sweep through everything. That's impossible. How can he possibly have a mortal body? Demon Fiend was in disbelief. A murderous look appeared in his eyes. Such an existence had already broken tradition. He was an existence that could not be controlled. He must be killed. Yi Qinghan is dead, and here comes another monstrous genius. What the hell is this mythical realm? Why are there so many monstrous geniuses? Everyone cried out in alarm. After the two of them fought for an hour, Qing Tian was sent flying by Li Feng's kick. His neck was struck and his head crashed into the ground. Boom! The spear pierced through the ground. Before Qing Tian could stabilize himself, Li Feng stabbed at him again. This time, the sword contained a will that could split the heavens. It could not be blocked by anyone. Boom! Qing Tian's body twisted, and he hid behind the Atlas war spear. He used the war spear to block the sword, but he was sent flying by Li Feng's imposing aura. His feet slammed into the ground, causing rocks to shatter, but he still could not stop the situation. How did Yi Qinghan die? I don't believe that you can kill him, Li Feng coldly asked as he continued to force Qing Tian back. He was devoured by the Chaos Dragon's essence, the Overgod's curse. Anyone who steals the Overgod's essence will die from the destruction of their soul. Qing Tian gritted his teeth. He did not want to reply to Li Feng, but when he was stared at by Li Feng's deep eyes, he could not help but reply. Li Feng twisted his waist, and the Godspark sword in his hand burst out again. He instantly sent Qing Tian flying and withdrew his Godspark. His black robe fluttered, and he did not seem tired at all. He did not shed a single drop of blood while fighting Atlas War Physique. Such combat strength was beyond imagination. Demon Fiend wanted to attack, but when he met Li Feng's eyes, he shrank back. Taoist Jiu Shan's eyes flashed. Once such a person joined the sorcerer tribe and cultivated to the Overgod realm, his future would be limitless. He would definitely become an existence that could control the war. Fellow Taoist, I'm the sect master of the Divine Weapon sect. If you don't mind, I'm willing to forge a divine sword for you. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Taoist Jiu Shan said in a deep voice. Chapter 805. Lord Jiu Shan tried to rope him in directly without hiding anything. Demon Fiend immediately cupped his fists when he heard that. Fellow cultivator, I'm Demon Fiend. If you don't mind, you can follow me to the Great Demon God's base camp. I guarantee that you'll obtain a Lord weapon. Li Feng looked at the two of them coldly. He was slightly influenced by Yi Qinghan and had been betrayed twice by the Shangqing exalted god. He knew that no one in the world could be trusted, only the sword in his hand. I'm not interested. I'll forge my own sword, Li Feng rejected coldly and turned to leave right away. Wherever he passed, the half-step lords automatically gave way. Li Feng appeared and shocked everyone with his battle. Then, he disappeared like a flash of fireworks. Yi Qinghan had left under everyone's watchful eyes and then disappeared. According to Qing Tian, he was dead. As for Li Feng, as long as the lords did not attack, they could not kill him. Peace returned to the Sisui realm once again. Li Feng was like a celestial treasure combat body. He stood outside the rules and did not take side. He was like a shrimp in the river. No one cared about him, and he could not do anything. Qing Tian fell silent. He cultivated in peace, comprehended the combat body inheritance, and swore to kill Li Feng. 30 years later, Gu Qingyu could not take it anymore. Yi Qinghan disappeared without a trace, and Emperor Yi was nowhere to be found. It was impossible to hide in the inner sect forever. Gu Qingyu's cultivation base had reached a bottleneck, and he needed to fight to the death to break through. Therefore, he specifically sought out half-step lords. He suppressed 2 half-step lords consecutively. He attacked ruthlessly, coldly, and arrogantly. His solitary sword Dao instantly became a household name, shocking the world. Another genius appeared and was intercepted by Demon Fiend. In the end, Taoist Jiu Shan appeared, and the two of them joined forces. Of the 3 half-step lords that Demon Fiend had brought with him, 2 were killed and 1 was severely injured. In the end, Demon Fiend had no choice but to retreat with the severely injured half-step lord. Gu Qingyu was now ranked among the top powerhouses, standing shoulder to shoulder with Li Feng. He had single-handedly fought 3 half-step lords, resulting in 2 deaths and 1 severe injury. Apart from Li Feng and the others, there was no one else among the younger generation who could do such a thing. The juniors of the inner sect walked out one by one. Yi Chuntian had fought on behalf of his father, but he did not explain that Yi Qinghan was still alive. Now that Yi Qinghan had disappeared, it was the best time for him to cultivate. Once the world knew that he was still alive, it was likely that all the main gods in the universe would come out to find him. Void god Yi Qinghan was very honest and introverted. He was more like Yi Qinghan, especially in terms of appearance. He was like a copy of Yi Qinghan. His battle prowess had reached great perfection, and he was invincible. It even gave people the illusion that he was Yi Qinghan in disguise. Among the inner sect juniors, these two were not the only powerful ones. Lin Wuqian and Di Longtian were the most powerful, and they had already surpassed some of the older generation. The older generation would not interfere in the younger generation's battles. However, because of Yi Qinghan, Demon Fiend had specifically targeted the insane sect, sending out a large number of powerhouses to kill the insane sect's juniors. If it were not for the fact that the insane sect's inner sect members were not far from each other and could support each other, they might have lost half of their members. Even when they supported each other, a few of them were severely injured. Time flew by and 100 years passed. Another powerhouse walked out of the mythical realm and shocked the Lord. It was the other pupil lineage. That lonely figure was thin and bleak. At that moment, she no longer used camouflage to hide her face. She was dressed in a purple robe and had a slender figure. She was about 1.75 meters tall. If one did not look at her eyes, her devilishly beautiful face was comparable to any woman's. However, her eyes were extremely frightening. One of them was purple, while the other had evolved into a rainbow color. She had not used her full strength yet, and anyone who looked into her eyes would be immediately mesmerized. Her appearance instantly alarmed the top existences of both camps. The 5th-ranked Guangwu battle form and the 6th-ranked Black Tiger battle form were much more terrifying than the Atlas battle form. The two of them were as graceful as jade and had elegant temperaments. They fought a world-shaking battle right after they appeared, destroying mountains and rivers. No one dared to interfere. Their combat strength surpassed that of Li Feng and also that of Yi Qinghan at that time. Even half-step lords had to give in. Whether it was Demon Fiend or Taoist Jiushan, if they were not in a hurry to see the other pupil lineage, they would definitely fight to the death. Greetings, Zixian. May I know your name, fairy? The Guangwu battle form was clad in Guangwu battle armor that shone with a rainbow light. He held a long spear in his hand, looking awe-inspiring. The other pupil lineage was only passed down through the bloodline. It would never appear in an outsider's body. The first other pupil lineage was called the Violet Emperor. In name, he was a lord, but in reality, he was the 21st supreme god. This person's combat strength was unfathomable. When his other pupil lineage was fully unleashed, the demon god and sorcerer god could not resist. However, the Violet Emperor was not suited for battle. Those eyes consumed a terrifying amount of life force essence, especially when used against existences like the demon god and sorcerer god. The Violet Emperor did not like war, so he had always kept a low profile and called himself a lord. He did not want to participate in that kind of boring war. Unfortunately, he could not escape his fate in the end. Before he died, he roared and told the world that the people of both camps would not have a good ending. Whether it was the demon god or the sorcerer god, they were both selfish people. The other pupil lineage had never been broken, but they had never appeared. No one knew why this Zixian had appeared. The other pupil lineage person looked at the two silently and whispered, "The ancestral teachings are not to participate in the affairs of the two camps. Leave. Don't force me to fight. Fairy, this time I came purely for personal matters. You don't need to care about my Black Tiger battle body. Just call me Tiger Liang." The Black Tiger battle body Liang Tiger cupped his fists. "I have no relationship with you. I came to the Sisui plain to find an old friend and ask him for help. Leave." My clan's lineage has never been broken. I know very well what was right and wrong in the past. My clan's great ancestor died because of your battle. If you continue to bother my clan, don't blame me for being impolite, the other pupil lineage woman said coldly. Guang Wu smiled and said awkwardly, I just want to know your name. If you don't want to be disturbed, I won't offend you. However, if you want to find someone, I can still help. Tiger Liang nodded repeatedly, indicating that he was willing to help. The other pupil lineage person had never told anyone her name. Her clan members, including Yi Qinghan, called her Zixian. Just like her name, she was like an immortal or a god. She was incomparably ethereal and could not be disrespected. I'm looking for Yi Qinghan. As for my name, you don't need to know it. After today, you won't have the chance to meet again, Zixian said calmly. Yi Qinghan? The two were stunned and looked at each other. Guang Wu smiled bitterly. This kid stole the Chaos Dragon's origin. You are an other pupil lineage person, so you should know the consequences of stealing the supreme origin. Thud, thud, thud. Zixian's expression changed. She took several steps back, sadness in her eyes. Ah, I know. Do you know where he's buried? Zixian asked with a sigh after learning about Yi Qinghan. According to Sky Pillar, the master of the Gaoxian Plain, and Liuyun, who were present at the time, Yi Qinghan suffered a backlash from the origin after he fought with Sky Pillar. In the end, he was forced to leave the Gaoxian Plain. As for where he died, we don't know, Tiger Liang said in a low voice. Gaoxian Plain. Zixian frowned and stepped directly into the depths of the Sisui Plain. Chapter 806. At the edge of the universe, in the depths of the endless mountain range, the mountains rose and fell, and the water danced. It was a rare moment of tranquility. A wisp of heavenly music came from an unknown origin, and no one knew where it ended. It was continuous in this mountain range. In a valley, a figure was lying flat in the air. His golden hair hung down, and his hands were placed on his lower abdomen. His battle robe was piercingly cold, as if he had been exhausted for 10,000 years and was sleeping. The Pai Xiu squatted at the entrance of the valley, looking around vigilantly. It emitted a powerful aura, and did not allow any beasts to approach. With the Pai Xiu around, that person was naturally Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi sat cross-legged in the center of the valley. His 10 fingers were dripping with blood. No one knew how long he had been playing. The zither music calmed one's heart and focused one's mind. Even the surrounding mountain winds were no longer howling. The eternal forest swayed along with the music in the valley. Yi Qinghan was already unconscious. He was muddle-headed. He could only hear the heavenly music calling him. His desire to live was beyond common sense. He was fighting for life with the Chaos Dragon's origin. He had been in a stalemate in this valley for 100 years, forcibly taking his life. Under the influence of the heavenly music, the Chaos Dragon's origin actually delayed the destruction of Yi Qinghan's soul. It even took the initiative to condense, showing signs of leaving Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. In the sea of consciousness, the Chaos Dragon's godhood patterns were quietly changing. The golden color was also transforming, and the dragon godhood's appearance was restored. Yi Qinghan's fingertip moved quietly, but it did not escape Emperor Ye's eyes. He could not help but cry. For 100 years, Yi Qinghan had been lying in the air. Except for his hair and clothes, he did not move. Even his heart did not beat. That gentle movement of his fingertip actually defeated Emperor Ye's strong heart. The divine bird moved up and down. During these 100 years, it felt that Yi Qinghan was hopeless. How could a human's strength be compared to the origin of the supreme god? However, Yi Qinghan's desire to live was unbelievably strong. Perhaps Emperor Ye's music was helping him, making him want to live. However, the power of the two of them together was too terrifying. Little Master, I can feel Master's aura rising. The divine bird said excitedly. Emperor Yi gritted his teeth and nodded. He gently stroked the human Emperor Guqin, and drops of essence blood stained the strings of the Guqin red. Even the body of the Guqin was dyed red. Whoosh! A wisp of golden light shot out of Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness and shot straight into Emperor Ye's sea of consciousness. It was the Chaos Dragon's origin. It did not acknowledge Yi Qinghan and even wanted to destroy him, but after 100 years of influence from the zither music, it actually acknowledged Emperor Ye's pure heart. The moment the Chaos Colossal Dragon essence entered his sea of consciousness, it automatically formed a Chaos Colossal Dragon divine spark. No, this divine spark was different from Yi Qinghan's Colossal Dragon divine spark from the very beginning. Its veins were filled with the most profound mysteries, and they transformed Emperor Ye's body, sea of consciousness and bloodline, a supreme divine spark. According to legend, there were only 21 supreme divine sparks in the world, and they had long disappeared from the galaxy. But now one had quietly appeared. The supreme divine spark rapidly formed, draining Emperor Yi of his divine power. Winds and clouds surged, and the divine aura formed a huge vortex. The vortex's point of convergence was the mountain range, and it madly rushed into Emperor Ye's body. The sound of the zither came to an abrupt stop. Emperor Yi was stunned. He felt the Chaos Dragon essence and the legendary Supreme Divine Spark in his sea of consciousness, and he found it hard to accept. This Chaos Dragon essence had almost destroyed Yi Qinghan, and after 100 years of stalemate, it actually ran into his sea of consciousness, took the initiative to settle down, and even condensed a Supreme Divine Spark? Without the torment of the Chaos Dragon essence, Yi Qinghan slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was filled with vicissitudes, as if he had lived through hundreds of millions of years. His eyes pierced through the void, and there was nothing blocking them. Looking up at the terrifying vortex formed by the divine aura, he hoarsely muttered to himself, "Is this the legendary land of solitary nothingness, the path of reincarnation?" Yi Qinghan wasn't even sure if he was still alive. These 100 years had been torturous. If his will had been slightly weaker, he would have died. There was no way he could have survived. The Supreme Divine Spark's torment could destroy his soul with just a breath. If it weren't for Emperor Yi constantly reminding him, he wouldn't have been able to hold on for more than 100 years. "Master, you didn't die. Your Chaos Dragon essence ran into the Little Master's sea of consciousness," the divine bird shouted. Yi Qinghan was startled awake. He suddenly fell to the ground. Looking at Emperor Ye's dazed eyes, he panicked and his nose tingled. Looking at Emperor Ye's scattered white hair, he felt extremely guilty. He was clearly the one who wanted to protect this thin and weak child, but every time, it was her who had been protecting him, desperately protecting him. Yi Qinghan's entire body trembled. He slowly knelt before Emperor Yi, clenching his slender fingers. Looking at the scratches on them, his heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe. His resolute Tao heart fiercely trembled, twisting with pain. 2 streams of tears flowed uncontrollably from his deep eyes. "Imperial Son, I'm sorry. I was actually so useless." Yi Qinghan deeply blamed himself. These 100 years hadn't been easy for him. It had been very painful. But he knew that Emperor Yi had it even worse. He had played the zither non-stop until his hands were almost worn out, but he had never once frowned. This feeling of gratitude was irreplaceable. Emperor Yi slowly woke up. Looking at Yi Qinghan's frail appearance, he stopped observing the Chaos Dragon essence and Supreme Divine Spark. He leaned over Yi Qinghan's chest and said softly, "Master, how could you be useless? You are the most powerful hero in my heart. That will never change." Yi Qinghan was speechless. He felt ashamed of Emperor Ye's praise. In his entire life, he had either led Emperor Yi into battle or brought her to avoid calamities. He had never given her a peaceful life. The vortex of divine aura surrounded the two of them and surged madly into their bodies, transforming their physical bodies. The bloodstain on Emperor Ye's fingertip disappeared, and divine light flowed through his fingertip. The space inside the Supreme Godhead was like a universe, boundless and boundless. No matter how much divine aura was absorbed or how much divine power was refined, it couldn't be filled. The heaven and earth phenomena here were world-shaking. Even on the other side of the universe, one could see the wind and clouds surging in the sky above the borderlands. Even the Siswi level and the upper plane's divine spiritual energy were being sucked away. What's going on? The first sovereign had appeared. He was so powerful that he could twist time and space and shatter the void, but he couldn't reverse the flow of divine energy. Yi Fei, is this caused by someone from the sorcerer's camp? Several figures descended. They were all sovereigns, and they were all alarmed by the restless heavens and earth. The great demonic god's bloodline couldn't help but be shocked. If it wasn't one of their people who had caused the phenomena, then it could be someone from the sorcerer's tribe. Once an undefeatable existence appeared among the sorcerer's descendants, this battle would end prematurely. The sovereign called Yi Fei was also shocked. He looked at the three sovereigns in front of him in disbelief and shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. The winds and clouds in the universe were stirring, and no one knew where the source of the phenomena was. Even the sovereigns couldn't find a trace. The clairvoyant's divination was directly blasted into nothingness by a bolt of heavenly lightning. The mysteries of heaven were unfathomable, and those who offended heavens would die. The heavens were overturned. There was only one kind of person who could make the clairvoyant unfathomable, a sovereign god. The supreme divine spark had appeared. Which powerful sovereign god was it? The sovereigns on both sides were trembling, afraid that it was someone from the other side. The sovereign god was already dead, and his battle constitution hadn't even been fully activated. If a sovereign god suddenly appeared, he could crush the sovereigns with a single slap. Chapter 807. In the depths of God's End Mountain, the second sorcerer god suddenly sat up from his coffin. Tears streamed down his face as he roared, "I can feel Father God's aura!" No, it's not Father God's aura, it's the aura of the Chaos Dragon. The primal Chaos Overgods all carried the aura of the primal Chaos origin. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were born from the same bloodline and were brothers. It was just that they had their own goals and were fighting against each other. In the distant burial ground of the great demonic god, in a misty demonic palace, three super experts awakened at the same time. They were as old as the sun, moon, and stars. It was unknown what era they were from, but they had actually survived until now by sealing themselves. The primal chaos overgod spark has appeared. Which overgod has appeared in advance? The three of them were uncertain. They felt that this era had completely fallen into chaos. Some people who shouldn't have appeared had all appeared. This was actually different from the prophecy of the past. The overgod's prophecy was actually wrong. Demonic tiger deity, come and see this seat. The one in the middle of the three occupied the main hall. He had a majestic aura, and his eyes could make people tremble in fear. Even the overgods didn't dare to disobey his will. Demonic tiger greets Lord Yushin. A black figure appeared in the main hall. He had a sturdy body and was as black as charcoal. His cultivation was actually that of an overgod, and he was also a supreme existence among the overgods. His words revealed the identity of this powerful overgod. Yushin of the Primal Chaos Era. He might not have been considered much in the Primal Chaos Era, but his identity was extraordinary. It was inconceivable that he had survived until now. Yushin was the last direct disciple of the first-generation ethereal physique. He had received all of the inheritance. When the Primal Chaos Era ended, he had just reached adulthood. The first-generation ethereal physique had died and passed all of its profound to him. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the first-generation ethereal physique. He was an existence comparable to the second sorcerer god. Even if he was slightly weaker, he and the other two terrifying existences of demonic god mountain could easily kill the second sorcerer god. This was also the reason why the second sorcerer god had been in seclusion all this time. Yushin seemed to know that the sorcerer tribe also had some terrifying existences hiding in some unknown places. Therefore, they had all sealed themselves and would not come out until the critical moment. If it were not for the birth of the Chaos Dragon's supreme godhead, they would not have awakened at all. Therefore, Yushin still did not know that the ethereal body of this era had appeared. Go and find out which overgod's godhead has appeared, and which organization it belongs to. If you find any traces of it, do not blaspheme it. Report back immediately, Yushin said in a low voice. Yes, my lord. This subordinate has another matter to report. Demon Tiger Venerable bowed and said, Speak. Yushin was a man of few words. This generation's ethereal physique has appeared, but she doesn't seem to have any intention of returning to the great demonic god's lineage, Venerable Devil Tiger respectfully replied. Yushin's old and gloomy eyes finally bloomed with divine light. He stood up and stared at demonic tiger deity, coldly saying, Why didn't you inform this king of such a big matter? My lord, before you went into seclusion, you said that unless an overgod spark appeared, no one was to disturb you. Therefore, Night Devil Tiger was so frightened that he fell to his knees, not daring to raise his head. Trash, you don't know how to be flexible. The ethereal physique is an existence comparable to a overgod. She is also my successor. How can this be considered a small matter? Yushin sternly reprimanded. Demon Tiger deity was so frightened that he trembled. This was the first time he had seen Yushin angry. This person from the Chaos era was too terrifying. Where is she? Yushin hurriedly asked. At the foot of Divine Artifact Sect's mountain, in a territory called the Insane Sect. I don't understand. Divine Artifact Sect clearly knows that child has the ethereal physique, but they have no intention of killing her. Therefore, I didn't dare to make the decision to fight for her. If I angered Divine Artifact Sect, I wouldn't be able to atone for my sins even if I died 10,000 times, Demon Tiger Deity respectfully said. Yushin frowned. She didn't expect things to develop to this point. Divine Artifact Sect was on the side of the shaman tribe. Why didn't they kill the ethereal physique? Even if Divine Artifact Sect didn't do anything, those old monsters of the shaman tribe should have ordered the ethereal physique's death. However, they actually pretended not to know anything. Luring the snake out of its hole? Yushin hoarsely muttered to herself. She suspected that the shaman tribe was scheming something. After 100 years of fighting, the inner sect had lost another 2 experts. Their numbers were reduced to 30 people. Although there were only 30 of them, they were comparable to a large sect. Even if 3 to 5 half-step overgods attacked together, it was impossible to break through their defenses. They might even die on the spot. Qin Wentian was no longer the child from back then. In 100 years, her appearance had changed a lot. She had become a slender and elegant young lady. Her beauty was peerless and her temperament was captivating. Her cultivation had also entered the realm of a middle god. However, no one in the inner sect dared to underestimate her. She had also inherited the ethereal physique's fate, memories, and secret techniques. The combat strength she displayed was unprecedented. Ordinary people couldn't compare to her. However, Jiu Shan was curious. Qin Wentian didn't choose to leave the insane sect and return to the demon god mountain as soon as the seed of fate erupted. Instead, she chose to stay in the insane sect. She was still as innocent and pure as before. She followed Yi Chuntian around all day and called him her husband. Yi Chuntian was very docile because of her. I'm looking for uncle. I want uncle. I want aunt. Are you going to look for her or not? Qin Wentian glared at Yi Qintian. Even though Yi Qinghan had left her for 100 years and she was only a few years old at that time, she didn't forget Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Yi Qintian was tortured to the point that he didn't have any temper. These days, the only one who could find Yi Qinghan was Emperor Yi. Even Medusa couldn't find him. My good wife, my father will be back soon. He really didn't die. Look, my mother's life jade is still here. Moreover, my mother's cultivation has become very strong. Even her life jade is changing. Yi Qintian smiled bitterly and took out Emperor Ye's life jade to prove it. Then why did the people outside say that uncle left? Why didn't uncle come back to see me? Woo-woo. Why would I need a trash like you? Even my father can't find you. Qin Wentian sat on the ground and cried loudly. She didn't look like an ethereal physique at all. Yi Qintian rolled his eyes and his fingers trembled. The great god Qintian was actually defeated by his little wife. The people of the inner sect also firmly believed that Yi Qinghan didn't die. If Yi Qinghan died, then Emperor Yi wouldn't live alone. They firmly believed in the love between the two. Therefore, when they saw the helpless expressions of Qin Wentian and great god Qintian, they secretly laughed. Zifeier walked out of the crowd and helped Qin Wentian up. She ruthlessly kicked Yi Qintian and pretended to be angry. Your wife is crying. Don't you know how to coax her? Senior sister, I really don't have a way to find father right now. It's also not good to go and find them with great fanfare. Once those people know that father isn't dead, they'll probably search the entire world for them. It's better to let them live a peaceful life. Yi Qintian helplessly explained. Chapter 808. At the edge of the universe, the vortex of divine aura grew stronger and stronger, to the point where Yi Qinghan couldn't take it any longer. His 12 godhoods were completely filled, but Emperor Yi didn't stop. He couldn't tell how much divine power Emperor Ye's overgod spark actually contained. In truth, Emperor Ye's overgod spark didn't contain divine power at all. As soon as it entered the overgod spark, it was transformed into chaos energy, which was the most basic form of energy. The overgod spark seemed to be draining the universe of energy. After a month of continuous absorption, the chaos energy within Emperor Ye's overgod spark was like a vast, inexhaustible ocean. Yi Qinghan couldn't even begin to imagine what the chaos-verse would be like when 21 overgods were simultaneously absorbing chaos energy. The Supreme Divine Persona even transformed the Tianhan Divine Persona along the way, elevating his Divine Persona into a Master God's Divine Persona. As long as Emperor Ye's realm increased, he would be a Master God. When his realm reached Supreme God, he would be a Supreme God. He would not have to condense a Master God's Divine Persona and a Supreme Divine Persona like others. Overgod sparks weren't that easy to condense. Otherwise, Master Clairvoyant wouldn't have lost his life for a single overgod spark, and the 9 Serenities Lord wouldn't have been stuck at the overgod level for millions of years. Emperor Yi became even more divine, so divine that even Yi Qinghan felt some pressure just looking at him. God light flowed over his skin, and his white hair turned a faint gold. Chaos Dragon divine energy filled his body, and the Zither immortal Crimson Demon constitution was no longer weak in defense. At this moment, Emperor Yi was proficient in both offense and offense. Yi Qinghan wasn't confident that he could defeat him. In fact, there was an 80% chance that he would lose. Whoosh! Emperor Yi gracefully rose to his feet, growing a bit taller. However, his baby face still hadn't grown much. A smile appeared on his tender face as he happily said, "Master, I never would have thought that the Chaos Dragon's essence would approve of me. An opportunity. It means that this opportunity is yours. Whether it's me or the Dragon Spirit, we're all just passers-by. As for the Dragon Spirit, she'll be brought back to the 9 serenities. We'll compensate her slowly in the future. Yi Qinghan embraced the soft and boneless Emperor Yi. At this moment, he was somewhat unwilling to care about the affairs of the world. All these years, he had let Emperor Yi down and had not given her a single day of peace. Master, can we go back now? Back then, it was said that you had suffered a backlash from the Chaos Dragon's origins and had already. Back then, I left my life token behind. Furthermore, it's a chaotic world now. I'm worried that the children won't be able to withstand it. Emperor Yi took the initiative to return. Yi Qinghan frowned and sighed. He still couldn't let go of the inner sect. I don't care about the affairs of the world. From now on, the inner sect will be set here. If anyone wants to go out and train, then go. I don't care. Yi Qinghan had just experienced a near-death experience. He had seen through a battle that would only result in both sides suffering losses. It would not benefit anyone, so he might as well say this. Maybe, but who can predict the affairs of the world? Even if we want to retreat, others might not necessarily let us. Emperor Yi smiled bitterly. She didn't like to fight. If it wasn't for Yi Qinghan, she would have already stayed on that desolate island with Medusa. The two of them kept their spirit pets and turned to leave. In the Sisui plain, a storm was brewing. Experts gradually appeared and began probing attacks to divert everyone's attention. However, the main target of the Fiend God faction was Qin Wentian of the inner sect. Yushin had given a death order. They had to bring Qin Wentian back to the Fiend God Mountain safely, no matter the cost. The experts of the Witch faction also felt the restlessness of the Fiend God faction, but they didn't know that their true target was Qin Wentian. After all, that child had been in the inner sect for so long and no one had fought over her. Most importantly, the defense of Godfire City was so strong that even a sovereign god would need half a day to attack it. By that time, the inner sect would have been transferred to the Divine Weapon sect. No one would be able to snatch her away. As for why the experts of the Witch faction didn't choose to kill Qin Wentian, they must have their own reasons. The inner sect didn't know how much the Witch faction wanted to kill Qin Wentian. The Fiend God faction's Atlas Battle Physique, the 6th-ranked Black Tiger Physique, Tiger Liang, and Demon Fiend began attacking the secret strongholds of the Witch faction from the east and south respectively, attracting the attention of the Witch faction. However, the sovereigns began to move around the periphery, making it impossible to find out their intentions. The Witch faction had no choice but to ask the 5th-ranked Guangwu Battle Physique and 3 or 4 sovereigns' direct disciples to take action. The 2 sovereigns' direct disciples had no problem dealing with the Atlas Battle Physique. After all, their cultivation levels were much higher than Atlas. This era was an era of elite. Those who lived in this era would either defy the heavens or live out the rest of their lives in misery. Moreover, it was best to live in a small plane. Such a large plane would easily be implicated. Taoist Jiushan didn't understand what Demon Fiend was doing. He actually alarmed the sovereigns and the 2 sovereigns to take action. They began to order the Divine Weapon sect to enter a state of war. Even Godfire City was put on high alert. The inner sect also smelled the scent of gunpowder and began to withdraw their forces. What is the demon faction doing? It's obviously a diversion. What kind of target is worthy of them using 2 sovereigns to attract the attention of the Witch faction and 2 sovereigns to attack from the periphery? Yi Chentian asked with a frown. Gu Qingyu furrowed his brows and turned his gaze to Qin Wentian. She had the 3rd-ranked battle physique, which was already equivalent to a paramount god. Only she could make the Devil God faction mobilize so many experts. Qin Wentian had matured, and his destiny gene had also erupted. However, there were no signs of him returning to the Devil God faction. If it was him, he would also be anxious, let alone someone from the Devil God faction. They might be coming for the insane sect. Everyone be careful. We can't fight against the sovereigns for now. I'm not confident in dealing with the black tiger physique, Gu Qingyu said in a low voice. They're not coming for my wife, are they? Yi Chentian asked in surprise. Love was a habit. After calling Qin Wentian his wife for so many years, even if he didn't love her at first, he had feelings for her now. That kind of possessiveness was stronger than love. If they took her away now, Yi Chentian wouldn't let go. Everyone in the inner sect was also enlightened. The ethereal physique was the third-ranked sovereign physique, followed by 2 supreme gods. This meant that when the ethereal physique grew up, he would be comparable to a supreme god. At the very least, he would be the strongest under the supreme god. Such an existence was definitely worth the demon faction mobilizing their forces to fight for him. However, they were afraid that the witch faction would kill Qin Wentian first. Everyone looked at Qin Wentian curiously. They didn't know what Yi Qinghan had done to make Qin Wentian stay in the inner sect, instead of leaving the insane sect and returning to the demon god mountain to receive a systematic education. Qin Wentian shrugged and curled his lips. Uncle is my family, they are not. Why would they want me? Anyway, I won't help them. I don't believe in fate. I'm me, not the first-generation ethereal physique. Wife, don't lie to me. If you want to leave now, before my father comes back, you should leave quickly. I won't stop you. But if you leave when I can't leave you, I'll break your legs, Yi Chentian said seriously. Tisk tsk. You speak as if you can leave me now. Why don't you leave me and I'll break 3 of your legs? Qin Wentian retorted domineeringly. Pfff, everyone in the inner sect laughed. This pair of buffoons had terrifying talents, but they were always fooling around. Chapter 809. The inner sect had always been optimistic. Even though they knew that the demonic god's target was the inner sect, no one was afraid of death. They only defended themselves while secretly contacting Taoist Jiu Shan to make preparations for a retreat. Only after being reminded by the inner sect did Taoist Jiu Shan realize that the demonic god's target was most likely the ethereal physique. In the shaman camp, Taoist Dragon Crouching, who inherited the primal chaos, was an outstanding expert. He wasn't a primal chaos expert like Yushin, but he could instantly kill other existences of the same generation. After receiving Taoist Jiu Shan's message, he led 3 other overgods to Divine Artifacts sect, quietly waiting for the demonic god's arrival. There were only so many overgod sparks, about 3,500 of them. Even after so many years of refining them, the total number of overgod sparks didn't exceed 3,700. Many of them had already disappeared. In this era, even if all the overgod experts appeared, there wouldn't be more than 500 of them. Killing one meant one less. Ambushing 2 overgods would result in heavy losses for the demonic god's side. Time passed quietly. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were rushing back from the edge of the universe. However, they didn't know that someone was trying to track them down. That person was Zixian, the person with different pupils. Zixian actually managed to reverse the trajectory of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. However, it took her a lot of time. In order not to waste her life source, she spent 100 years on the road. Unfortunately, she was still a step too late. When she arrived at the valley, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had just left for half a day. Zixian frowned as she looked at the valley. Yi Qinghan had just left, so it was easy to deduce their trajectory. Therefore, she didn't hesitate and chased after them. The inheritance of the person with different pupils was passed down from one bloodline to another. Thus, Zixian's talent was like the Violet Emperor. Once she matured, she would become another Violet Emperor, an existence comparable to the great demonic god and primal chaos shaman god. However, to reach that level, she would need a huge amount of resources. This was also the reason why the bloodline of the Violet Emperor had yet to produce a supreme god. Zixian pursued them relentlessly. Finally, a month later, he caught up with Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi in a small plain. Yi Qinghan sensed that someone was chasing him, and when he turned around, he saw that it was someone with other pupils. He could not help but ask in surprise, "Fairy, how did you find me?" Zixian heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I knew you weren't dead. I have something to ask of you this time." Yi Qinghan nodded. Zixian had helped him several times. Since she had asked, there was no reason to refuse, so he said, "Fairy, please speak. If it is within my power, I will do my best." "Help me find the celestial battle body," Zixian said firmly. "Celestial combat body?" Yi Qinghan was stunned. The 8th-ranked constitution was probably more valuable than the 3rd-ranked one. Why did Zixian want him? There was a record of this person in the secret history. There was only one sentence: "The celestial combat body is a loner. No one knows its combat strength or cultivation status. Everything is unknown." If the second sorcerer god said so, this person must be extremely difficult to find. "I know nothing about the celestial combat body. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find him," Yi Qinghan said honestly. "I know you have a chance to find him. She is a woman, and the celestial combat body is only passed down to women. I don't know if the first generation of the celestial combat body is dead or not, but I know that once he is dead, the second generation of the celestial combat body must have appeared," Zixian replied. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment, then nodded, indicating that he would do his best to help. Zixian looked at Emperor Yi and asked in surprise, "It was you who obtained the origin of the Chaos Dragon. The current era is indeed in chaos. Only one of the Overgod's prophecies is accurate." Emperor Yi nodded kindly. Zixian had helped the inner sect a few times, so their relationship was quite good. She only talked about benefits with Yi Qinghan, not about feelings. There was no need to be jealous. Yi Qinghan was curious. The 21 Overgods had all left behind prophecies, but 20 of them were the same. Only one prophecy was different from the others, and that was the Purple Emperor's prophecy. No one knew what the Purple Emperor had prophesied. Only the direct descendants of the Purple Emperor knew, and it was passed down from generation to generation. "Fairy, can you tell me what the Purple Emperor had prophesied?" Yi Qinghan asked. Zixian shook her head without hesitation. She refused to answer. "I can only tell you that no one can escape fate. History will indeed repeat itself. This is the similarity between the 21 Overgods' prophecies. However, there is one difference, and that is the second half of my ancestors' prophecies. They are now being verified one by one, so I need to find the celestial battle body and have her help me become a Overgod." Zixian explained her purpose of finding the celestial battle body. Yi Qinghan looked at Zixian. He still didn't know her name, but he didn't ask. He cupped his fists and said, "Fairy, I want to escape fate. I don't believe in some bullshit fate. I only believe in myself. If you think so, then I hope you can cooperate with me when you become a Overgod. I don't belong to the witch tribe, and I definitely don't belong to the great demonic god's bloodline. I only want to stand outside the rules. I don't want to participate in the struggles of any factions. I only want to protect myself." Zixian lowered her head in silence. Her fingertips trembled. She recalled a sentence in the Purple Emperor's prophecy: "There will always be someone in the world who can tear apart the curse of the Overgods. There will always be someone in the world who can break free from the shackles. If there isn't, then the universe will eventually be destroyed." The previous sentence had already come true. The one who tore apart the curse of the Overgods wasn't Yi Qinghan, but Emperor Yi. Then, was the one who broke free from the shackles Yi Qinghan? Back then, my ancestor was forced to participate in the war and perished. Before he left, he already sensed that death was imminent. He left behind an ancestral teaching that forbade our clansmen from interfering in the war between the factions. "Whether or not we join forces with you depends on the situation," Zixian said frankly. She didn't agree. However, I must remind you that since Emperor Yi was able to break the curse of the overgods and obtain the origin of the Chaos Dragons, he must be wary of the other overgods' successors. Their inheritances come from the will of the overgods. However, Emperor Yi didn't die because of your plundering. The other overgods' successors will definitely be wary of Emperor Yi. They might even try to assassinate him first, regardless of the cost. It's very likely that the two factions will join forces to kill him. In the face of benefits, there is no such thing as eternal hatred, Zixian said in a serious tone. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Indeed, the overgod's inheritances couldn't be plundered. He had experienced it firsthand, and had almost been tortured to death. However, after Emperor Yi received the inheritance, he didn't suffer any backlash. Instead, the origin of the inheritance automatically condensed into a overgod personality. If it were any other overgod successor, it would be strange if they didn't fear Emperor Yi. There were 21 successors. Excluding the inheritances of the great demonic god and the chaos sorcerer god, Zixian, the Purple Emperor's successor, and the Chaos Dragon's successor, there were still 17. If these 17 successors joined forces, their power would definitely be earth-shattering. These 17 had already surpassed the power of battle constitutions. Chapter 8:10 Yi Qinghan separated with Emperor Yi and Violet Deity. They traveled as fast as lightning, chasing after the wind and chasing after shadows. They continuously traversed countless small plains. However, they discovered that the small plains were constantly moving. It was very slow, but even the main gods could sense that the plains were slowly moving. The 10 battle constitutions had appeared quietly, but they had not gathered yet. Once they gathered, the chaotic universe might really reappear in the world. Master, the plains are moving, and they seem to be accelerating. Emperor Ye's soul was powerful, and his senses were superb. He sensed the plains moving before Yi Qinghan. After Yi Qinghan was reminded, he carefully observed the small plains and found that they were really moving. He thought that it was only this small plain that was moving, but when he moved to the next small plain, he found that it was still moving. Only then did he confirm that the entire universe was changing positions. Some small plains completely overlapped, and the border river disappeared, forming a middle plain. This scene was happening in different places. Those who had the battle constitutions would rule the world. The great demonic divine body and the 9 revolution chaotic Tao body were not for others. They must have been inherited by the great demonic god and the shaman bloodlines. The remaining ones were the void Tao bodies. The 3rd was the ethereal body, the 5th was the Guangwu battle body, the 6th was the black tiger battle body, the 7th was the astral battle body, the 8th was the celestial battle body, the 9th was the sun-moon battle body, and the 10th was the Atlas battle body. How could there be such a coincidence? They actually appeared at the same time. They haven't even met up yet, but they've already begun to shake the heavens and the earth. The plane has shifted. What will happen if the 10 of them get together? Sigh, I'm becoming a stupid bird. I don't know anything about battle constitutions and supreme gods. The divine bird sighed. It imagined how carefree it was when it knew everything, but now it was sad. It's okay. You weren't very useful in the past anyway. I won't despise you. Yi Qinghan shook his head. The divine bird rolled its eyes, then squatted on Yi Qinghan's shoulder dispiritedly. It wanted to make a contribution and show the prestige of the all-beast divine emperor. Many strangers appeared in Divine Fire City in the Sisui realm overnight. No one knew which camp they were from, but most of them were half-step lords. This attracted Gu Qingyu's attention, and he began to set up his defenses. He would be the first obstacle, Qitian Monkey King would be the second obstacle, Xian Yan would be the third obstacle, and Yi Chuntian would be the fourth obstacle. As long as the first obstacle was attacked, The inner sect members would begin to retreat to the Divine Artifact sect to ensure that Qin Wentian would not be taken away. Qin Wentian's ranking was the highest, but his realm was the lowest. There was a huge gap between him and the other battle constitutions, so he couldn't form a huge combat strength. On this day, the night was as dark as ink, and it was difficult to see one's fingers in front of one's face. It was a moonless and windy night. Surprisingly, the two overgods didn't attack Divine Fire City. Instead, they circled around the city and attacked the back mountain of Divine Artifact sect. Caught off guard, Divine Artifact sect lost its forbidden grounds on the spot. The flames of war spread to the interior of Divine Artifact sect. They didn't even have time to activate their defensive formations. This was the might of the overgods. If they wanted to attack Divine Artifact sect, no matter how strong their defenses were, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Dragon Crouching Daoist personally led the two overgods in a strong counterattack. The back mountain was razed to the ground. It was 3 against 2. Although the demonic gods were at a disadvantage, they didn't choose to retreat. Instead, they continued to attack wildly. If it weren't for the Divine Artifact Palace blocking the aftershocks, Divine Artifact sect might have been destroyed on the spot. Divine Fire City was also in chaos at this moment. More than 10 half-step overgods attacked at the same time, but they didn't attack the inner sect of Insane Sect. The flames of war between the two places ignited a huge fire. The native powerhouses in Divine Fire City were enraged. They attacked the attackers in a frenzy, trying to drive them out of Divine Fire City and activate the defensive formation of Divine Fire City to prevent innocent casualties. All half-step overgod weapons were summoned. The darkness was torn apart, and the shadows of swords and sabers were everywhere. At this moment, 3 black-robed figures appeared quietly. They were the Black Tiger Combat Constitution, the Sun-Moon Combat Constitution, and the Atlas Combat Constitution of the Great Demonic God Clan. The 3 powerhouses pounced on the inner sect at the same time. Our target is the ethereal physique. The outer sect can't hold them off for long, so we just need to injure those in the inner sect. Tiger Liang whispered to the 2 of them. The 2 of them nodded and followed Tiger Liang. They moved forward quietly, flashing in the darkness without any fluctuation of divine power. If it weren't for the flames outside tearing the darkness apart, even their shadows would be hard to detect. With the 3 constitutions, he would be able to kill any powerful ancient sect and retreat after accomplishing his mission. However, they were destined to fail this time. When Divine Fire City and Divine Weapon Sect were attacked, the 30 inner sect powerhouses and a group of juniors were divided into 5 teams. They were led by Gu Qingyu, Qitian Monkey King, Yi Chentian, Xian Yan, and Di Longtian respectively. Di Longtian and Lin Wutian led a large group of juniors to hide in the dark, ready to kill anyone who came to offend them. The inner sect territory was extremely quiet. It was so quiet that it was as if nothing had happened outside. Something's not right. Divine Fire City and Divine Weapon Sect are fighting so fiercely. Why isn't the Insane Sect doing anything? The Sun-Moon Combat Constitution asked with a frown. There is indeed something wrong. It's just the Insane Sect. Don't worry about it. I'll deal with the others. The 2 of you can leave after taking the ethereal physique. Tiger Liang said proudly. With the 3 of them working together, they could even take down the Divine Weapon Sect, let alone the Insane Sect. However, what they didn't know was that the 3 of them were entering the inner sect's encirclement. The inner sect had formed a huge half-moon shape. Tiger Liang and the other 2 were entering the center of the half-moon. As combat constitutions, they were used to being arrogant. Even though they had investigated the Insane Sect's young powerhouses before coming, the highest realm among them was only a half-step over God. The weakest was even a supreme god. Di Longtian led a group of juniors to quietly seal the half-moon. The encirclement was getting smaller and smaller. Tiger Liang realized something was wrong. He spread out his divine sense and found that he was surrounded. Ignorant ants! How dare you surround me? Tiger Liang sneered and waved his hand. He signaled to Qing Tian, leave this group to us. You go find the ethereal physique. Whoosh! Suddenly, the surroundings were lit up by torches. The inner sect members no longer hid and all stood out. They looked at the three of them. Although they couldn't recognize them, they were sure that Qing Tian had a combat constitution. Someone who could talk to Qing Tian in such a tone must have a combat constitution as well. Huh? The Black Tiger Combat Constitution and the Sun Moon Combat Constitution have appeared. Qin Wentian had a special sense for combat constitutions. He instantly identified the two. TSK. 3 combat constitutions, known as the unparalleled combat constitutions. Today, 3 of them appeared. Don't even think about leaving, Yi Chentian said coldly. Haha, I wonder what will happen to the great demonic gods clan after losing 3 combat constitutions at once? Di Longtian sneered. With just you bunch of ants? Get lost if you don't want to die. Otherwise, I'll be angry tonight and dye the insane sect red with blood, Tiger Liang scolded disdainfully. Qing Tian stared at Qin Wentian and asked in a deep voice, Ethereal physique, have you forgotten your destiny? Come with me now. The demonic god mountain is waiting for you to accept the inheritance. Chapter 8:11. Qin Wentian and Yi Chentian stood together, holding each other's hands. Looking at the Atlas battle physique, Qin Wentian asked in surprise, Destiny? The great demonic god wants me to die at the last moment. Sigh, why should I follow his will? I wasn't raised by him. I was raised by my uncle. The only one who can make me die for him is my uncle. Who does the great demonic god think he is? The 3 battle physiques trembled and looked at Qin Wentian in disbelief. They didn't know where this idea came from. Could it be that the great demonic god's will was for the incorporeal physique to die? Absolutely impossible. Even a fool wouldn't plant such a will, let alone the great demonic god. Moreover, the great demonic god definitely valued the incorporeal physique more than the other battle physique. How could he let the incorporeal physique die at the last moment? Who are you listening to this nonsense from? Someone changed your memory inheritance. Tiger Liang said angrily. The people of the inner sect looked at each other. This was the first time they heard Qin Wentian say that the great demonic god's will was actually this. If someone had really changed Qin Wentian's memory inheritance, only Yi Qinghan would have the chance. After all, Qin Wentian only followed Yi Qinghan when he was young. Yi Qinghan didn't know that Yi Qinghan had changed Qin Wentian's will. Yi Qinghan really didn't tell him about this. In fact, Qin Wentian didn't know that Yi Qinghan had tampered with Qin Wentian's memory inheritance and some of his soul. Only Emperor Yi knew. You're the one who's talking nonsense. My memory inheritance is very complete. No one touched it. Even if it was, I was willing to do it. You bunch of idiots will be killed by that bastard the great demonic god sooner or later, Qin Wentian retorted disdainfully. The 3 battle physiques trembled with anger. The great father in their hearts was actually insulted by a battle physique. Moreover, it was a battle physique from their own faction, the strongest one. Who touched her memory inheritance? Tiger Liang roared at the inner sect disciples, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Gu Qingyu's lips curled into a smile. If one were to ask who understood Yi Qinghan the most, it would naturally be him. Yi Qinghan appeared to be a man who abided by the rules, a man with a bottom line and principles. But Gu Qingyu understood that in terms of treachery, Yi Qinghan was not to be outdone by the divine bird. As long as it was beneficial to him, Yi Qinghan would do things without a bottom line or principles. He was still worried that Yi Qinghan would suddenly go berserk and kill the inner sect disciples. So it turned out that Yi Qinghan had already prepared a path of retreat. Most probably, changing the devil god fate gene was only the first step. Yi Qinghan had even tampered with her soul. At this moment, two figures flashed across the inner sect territory at lightning speed and landed before the crowd. At this moment, everyone from the insane sect was stunned. Sky High trembled and took a few steps back. He screamed, "Impossible! This is impossible! How can you still be alive?" Yi Qinghan smiled and said indifferently, "Nothing is absolute. It's normal for me to be alive. You guys came to take away the ethereal physique? What a pity!" Tiger Liang and the Sun-Moon battle physique did not recognize Yi Qinghan. They only knew that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were very powerful. The appearance of these two meant that their mission today was doomed to fail. "He's Yi Qinghan. He snatched the Chaos Dragon's source and didn't die. This is impossible. How could he have withstood the backlash of the Overgod's source?" Sky High was shocked. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes as he looked at Yi Qinghan. Yes, the battle physique had never felt fear, but now it was. "Yi Qinghan? What did you just say? What a pity." Tiger Liang frowned and asked. "It's a pity that we suffered a double loss. The three of you can stay behind as well," Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Ridiculous. Who do you think you are? If I want to leave, even an overgod can't stop me." Tiger Liang was arrogant. He had the 6th-ranked battle physique, and was also a half-step overgod. An overgod really could not stop him. "I want to try." Emperor Yi waved his hand, and the human Emperor's Guqin appeared in his hand. His aura changed, and the Chaos Dragon's divine might covered the sky and earth, enveloping the entire Divine Flame City's territory. Thud, thud, thud. Tiger Liang and Sky High's 3 battle physiques were so frightened that they took 3 steps back. They looked at Emperor Yi in disbelief. "It's you. You're the one who inherited the Chaos Dragon's supreme godhead." At this moment, Sky High was not the only one who was shocked and terrified. Tiger Liang and the Sun-Moon battle physique were also scared. A supreme god was a supreme god. With a supreme godhead, even if the 3 of them worked together, they might not be able to defeat Emperor Yi. Tiger Liang was about to go crazy, and Sky High was going crazy. One after another, impossible things were happening right in front of their eyes. Yi Qinghan did not suffer any backlash from seizing the supreme origin, and Emperor Yi actually did it again. Not only did he not die, but he also condensed a supreme godhead. This was simply unprecedented. The Sun-Moon battle physique gulped, and he wanted to retreat. Swoosh! Yi Qinghan drew his sword and looked at Emperor Yi to determine their opponents. Hum! Hum! Emperor Yi tested the Guqin, and the sound of the Guqin reverberated. Even the overgods fighting inside the Divine Weapon sect were stunned. They felt their hair stand on end, as if they saw a chaos dragon sweeping through space and time to devour the mountains and rivers. Boom! The 3 battle physiques were stunned by the dragon's aura. Their blood flow stagnated, and they even lost control of their divine spark. At this moment, Yi Qinghan swung his sword and slashed at the Sun-Moon battle physique. His aura soared into the sky and moved mountains and seas. Kill! Gu Qingyu, Qitian Monkey King, and the others joined forces to attack Sky High. The inner sect had never been afraid of being accused of bullying with numbers. Their biggest goal was to make sure no one died. Sky High was blown away and coughed up blood. He was quite sullen. In the Chaos era, battle physiques would never lose, at least not to others. They would only lose to battle physiques. However, ever since he was born, he had been defeated twice by Yi Qinghan and then by Li Feng. Now, he was completely helpless against a group of inner sect disciples. At this moment, he could only be described as sullen. Rise of the Sun and Moon, reverse the yin and yang. The Sun-Moon battle physique struggled out of his panic. His blood flow recovered, and he formed a seal with his palms. The Sun and Moon appeared at the same time, tearing apart the darkness and illuminating the world. Hum, hum, hum. Emperor Yi played the guqin, his 10 fingers plucking the strings at the same time. It was as if a chaos dragon had appeared, roaring in the sky and affecting the blood flow of the experts. Boom! A strand of guqin music rushed into Tiger Liang's mind and exploded. He was already in a sorry state before the battle even started. He kept retreating, trying to escape. Roar! Tiger Liang roared, trying to control his blood flow and manifest his origin battle physique. A huge black tiger appeared as if it was real. It roared at the sky, its fangs piercing through the void as it pounced on Emperor Yi. Hum! Emperor Yi played the guqin again, and the strings were easily destroyed. The music turned into a chaos dragon from the ancient times. The dragon's head was visible, but its tail was nowhere to be seen. It opened its mouth and swallowed the mountains and rivers. Whoosh! Emperor Yi tiptoed and appeared on the head of the chaos dragon. His divine robe danced in the wind, and he was incomparably holy, like a goddess descending to the mortal world. The black tiger battle physique vomited blood because of this aura. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, but that the black tiger he formed wasn't real. Once it reached its strongest state, it could become a real chaos beast. A black tiger could tear a dragon apart. However, the black tiger was only an illusion. The illusion was shattered by the chaos dragon's roar, and it even affected his soul. He coughed up blood on the spot. Unless the chaos sacred beast appeared again, no one could provoke Emperor Yi. On the other side, although Yi Qinghan wasn't as strong as Emperor Yi, he was extremely powerful and almost suppressed the Sun-Moon battle physique. He was only a 5 elements Dao body, but he was able to resist the Sun-Moon battle physique. Once he formed the 9 revolution chaotic Dao body, he would definitely be comparable to or even surpass Emperor Yi. Chapter 8:12. The current situation was just as Yi Qinghan had said. Unfortunately, even their 3 great battle constitutions were going to die in the insane sect. Sky Pillar was the most miserable. He was surrounded and beaten by the inner sect members, and from time to time, he would be kicked from behind. Gu Qingyu and the others attacked, and he couldn't even dodge. Fortunately, it was a group of juniors who had no intention of killing him. Otherwise, he would have been dead long ago. However, Tiger Liang's soul was the most miserable. He was under the pressure of a paramount god's soul, and his soul was somewhat distorted by Emperor Ye's torture. He only wanted to escape, but he was beaten back by Emperor Yi every time he tried. Gather! Combo! Tiger Liang was terrified. He was powerless to face Emperor Yi alone. Right now, Emperor Yi was fighting him with a cheat code. Unless another overgod successor came along and formed a supreme godhead, only then would they be able to influence the outcome of the battle. Otherwise, even an ordinary master god might not be able to influence the outcome of the battle. But how could the Sun-Moon battle constitution and Sky Pillar have a chance to escape? Tiger Liang was forced to retreat. The Sun-Moon battle constitution's entire body shone brightly, forming a blazing sun. Its realm seemed to be even higher than Tiger Liang's, and the sun and moon it formed were both illusory and real. It possessed true offensive power. The moon was soft and the yang was hot. The reversal of yin and yang could cause the yin and yang in a person's body to go haywire and die a miserable death. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's every strike was as powerful as it could get. The battle in the Divine Fire City stopped, and everyone looked in the direction of the Kuang Zone. Their eyes were filled with horror. The chaotic giant dragon's head was in the Sisui plain. Its body seemed to have come from outer space, but it also seemed to have come from another plane. They couldn't see where it started. The majestic melody made people's blood boil, and everyone in Godfire City was affected. The weak-willed people fainted on the spot, and the strong-willed people were worse off than the weak-willed. At least their souls were no longer tortured. Bang! A strand of melody turned into a giant warblade, cleaving through the sky and smashing into Tiger Liang's chest. Tiger Liang was sent flying into the distance like a kite with its string cut. The 6th-ranked battle constitution had been defeated, but it wasn't a disgrace. Losing to Emperor Yi, a paramount god who represented the primordial dragons, was still a glorious defeat. Just as Emperor Yi was about to make his move, an even stronger tiger roar rang out. Even Dragon Crouching Taoist was shocked. He turned his head to look at the sky above Divine Fire City and saw Demon Tiger Lord descending from the sky in the form of a giant demonic tiger. He slammed his palm towards the inner sect, and his chi soared into the galaxy. The entire Divine Fire City was swept away, and the houses collapsed while the experts were sent flying. Ding! Emperor Yi gave up on killing Tiger Liang. He manipulated the Chaos Dragon's phantom to turn its head and bite at demonic tiger deity. Run! Yi Qinghan signaled to Yi Chentian and the others, but he himself followed Emperor Ye's figure and charged forward. He unleashed all of his combat power, hoping to buy some time. 12 divine personas emerged from his body and poured out at the same time, transforming into a giant saber that reached the sky. He stepped on the illusory image of a giant dragon and charged toward the dragon's head, ready to join forces with Emperor Yi. Overgod. Demonic tiger deity was no ordinary overgod. His combat power was terrifying. He could kill a pinnacle supreme god with his will, and even a strand of his hair could turn into a divine weapon to kill a half-step overgod. The inner sect disciples were definitely no match for him. Run! Gu Qingyu and the others gave up on chasing after Qin Tian and the Sun and Moon Combat Constitution at the same time and fled toward Divine Weapon Sect. Yi Chentian pulled Qin Wentian and charged forward. Wind Mark turned into tens of thousands of shadows, but his real body fled in the opposite direction. Yi Chentian's reaction was correct, because demonic tiger deity did not fight Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan head-on. Instead, he flashed and took away the 3 combat constitutions. He flashed again and directly grabbed the 2 who were running toward Divine Weapon Sect. However, as soon as he touched the illusory images, the 2 turned into nothingness. Only then did he realize that he had been tricked. Retreat. Mission failed. Whoosh! Demonic tiger deity did not think about killing Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, nor did he attack the inner sect disciples. He flew into the sky with the 3 combat constitutions and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. The fiend gods in Godfire City managed to escape, but the 2 overgods in Artifact Sect had a hard time escaping. Taoist Dragon Crouching and 2 other experts led by Taoist Dragon Crouching managed to hold them back. One of them was seriously injured, and the other had to use a forbidden art, wasting more than half of his life essence to bring him away. The 2 overgods were almost crippled. Even if they survived, the resources used were immeasurable. Moreover, they could not recover in a short period of time. That scared me to death. Fortunately, I didn't run toward Divine Weapon Sect with them. Otherwise, that palm strike would have definitely turned me into dust. Yi Chentian was sweating profusely. Coward, aren't you called Chentian the Great God? Why are you so scared? Qin Wentian mocked him in disdain. Damn you! That's an overgod. I'm the high god. Didn't you see how fast he was? He caught my afterimage in an instant. Yi Chentian replied unhappily. Yi Qinghan did not chase after him. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, demonic tiger deity was worried that he would be surrounded by the shamans after killing the inner sect disciples. Otherwise, the arrogant sect would have suffered a great loss. Although he did not kill the 3 combat constitutions, he was satisfied that he was able to escape from an overgod. "Are you guys alright? The incorporeal body was not captured, right?" Dragon Crouching Taoist felt that it was a pity that he did not manage to kill the 2 overgods. The battle between overgods was cruel, and it was difficult to kill them completely. However, such a good opportunity was missed. Yi Qinghan shook his head and descended with Emperor Yi. Looking at the 3 overgods in front of him, he clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, seniors, for guarding the Divine Tool sect and protecting my arrogant sect." Dragon Crouching Taoist nodded and turned his gaze to Emperor Yi. He did not bother to communicate with Yi Qinghan. What he cared about was Emperor Yi and the incorporeal body. "So it's this fellow Taoist who obtained the Chaos Dragon's godhead. Congratulations!" Dragon Crouching Taoist bowed to Emperor Yi instead. Emperor Yi could not help but groan when he saw Dragon Crouching Taoist ignoring Yi Qinghan. He did not even bother to pay attention to Yi Qinghan. Dragon Crouching Taoist stood awkwardly at the side. Only then did he realize that the backbone of Emperor Yi was Yi Qinghan. "You are the sect master of arrogant sect, Yi Qinghan? This old man is Dragon Crouching Taoist. This time, I wanted to use this opportunity to ambush the overgod of the demonic god clan. Unfortunately, I failed at the last step and they almost succeeded. This incorporeal body cannot be obtained by the demonic god clan. Fellow Taoist, please allow me to take her away," Dragon Crouching Taoist said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan frowned. This Dragon Crouching Taoist was so domineering. It was as if he was ordering him. "Impossible. She is my daughter-in-law. I will protect her myself," Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Fellow Taoist, please prioritize the common people. This girl cannot be left alive. She must be eliminated as soon as possible," Dragon Crouching Taoist said firmly. "You're bullshitting me. Would you let me handle your woman?" Yi Chentian was enraged. This Dragon Crouching Taoist actually wanted to kill his daughter-in-law in front of him. Even if his cultivation realm was low, he would not be able to endure it. Qin Wentian couldn't help but pull him back. He looked at Yi Qinghan. A overgod was a overgod. His will was not to be defied. "Brat, you are talking to a overgod. Don't be unreasonable. There are many talented geniuses. Even the incorporeal body would not speak to Dragon Crouching Taoist like this." One of the overgods behind Dragon Crouching Taoist changed his aura and pressed down on Yi Chentian. Swish! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and pulled Yi Chentian and Qin Wentian behind him. He looked at the 3 overgods with dissatisfaction. Chapter 8:13. Yi Qinghan looked at the 3 overgods with dissatisfaction. How dare they do such a thing? Did they really think they were invincible? Emperor Yi moved to the side and unleashed his dragon aura towards the 3 overgods. "These 2 children are my son and daughter-in-law. If you want to touch them, you should at least ask for my permission. Don't think that you are superior just because you are an overgod. Your will is not the will of the insane sect." Dragon Crouching Taoist frowned. Emperor Yi represented the Chaos Dragon and was also a supreme god. Now that the supreme godhead had been formed, he represented the upper echelons of the sorcerer race. Other than the first sorcerer god, the Chaos Dragon was the strongest person who was willing to help the sorcerer god. No one in the sorcerer race dared to blaspheme the dignity of the Chaos Dragon. "My lord, the incorporeal body is the enemy of the sorcerer race. In the future, he will definitely bring disaster to the world. Our ancestors sacrificed a lot to destroy the bloodline of the great demonic god. If the incorporeal body is allowed to grow again, the world will fall into darkness again. You are the inheritor of the Chaos Dragon and should have inherited the memories. I think you should know better than me. Please reconsider. Dragon Crouching Taoist said with a bow. The one who is going against the sorcerer race is the first incorporeal body, Yao Yang. It has nothing to do with the incorporeal body and Wentian. Don't put the cart before the horse. Wentian has been following my husband since he was 3 years old and has never left. This already shows that there is a problem. The problem lies with the person, not the incorporeal body. Emperor Yi said coldly. Fate genes cannot be changed. Even if Yi Qinghan can let her stay in the insane sect temporarily, she will not be able to stay in the future. I have seen too many of such situations. Dragon Crouching Taoist said in a deep voice. That is also my problem. It has nothing to do with you. I am not as noble as you. I am only responsible for the insane sect. I am not responsible for the world. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. How can you be so irresponsible? It's everyone's responsibility to protect the world. If we kill the wrong person, we won't let him go. The ethereal body can't be left alive. If you don't agree today, I'll ask my superiors to come down and deal with it. Taoist Dragon Crouching stared at Yi Qinghan coldly. He was getting more and more dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's selfishness. I don't care if you kill others, but you can't kill my people. Yi Qinghan retorted angrily. The two sides were at each other's throat. Although the crazy sect was weaker, they were not afraid of death. They drew their swords at the same time and surrounded the 3 overgods in a half-moon formation. Taoist Jiu Shan was embarrassed. He hurriedly rushed out of the sect and stood in the middle. He said in a deep voice, Fellow Taoists seniors, please don't fight among yourselves. We'll make a fool of ourselves in front of the fiend celestial lineage. As for the incorporeal spirit body, let's discuss it at length. Inside? Yi Qinghan snorted. He had never admitted that he was a member of the sorcerer tribe. Not in the past, not in the future. Based on the way the 3 of them handled things, they were incompatible with the crazy sect. Ask the young master to uphold justice. I won't let anything happen to the 3rd-ranked incorporeal spirit body. Taoist Dragon Crouching gestured to one of the overgods behind him and whispered. In the eyes of the 3 overgods, there was only one person who could be the young master. That person was the descendant of the primal chaos sorcerer god, the chaotic Tao body of 9 revolutions. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He did not expect the person with the chaotic Tao body of 9 revolutions to be born. He suddenly remembered the 2nd sorcerer god's request and did not take the opportunity to leave. He told the chaotic Tao body of the 2nd sorcerer god's matter and told him how to deal with it. From now on, he would have nothing to do with the sorcerer tribe. One of the overgods left at an extremely fast speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Taoist Jiu Shan did not know what to do. If they were to fight, it would be equivalent to breaking up the sorcerer tribe. After all, Emperor Yi represented the chaotic dragon and the young master represented the supreme chaotic sorcerer god. Yi Qinghan, you'll become a sinner in history. You'll make your enemies happy and your loved ones sad. Taoist Dragon Crouching still wanted to persuade Yi Qinghan. If Emperor Yi was not here, he would not have to waste his breath. I've never believed in history. The winner is the king. You don't have to force me with morals. I'm not that noble. If you want to kill us today, you'd better destroy the crazy sect in one go. If any of us escape, we'll regret it for the rest of our lives. Yi Qinghan replied coldly. You! Taoist Dragon Crouching was furious and could not control himself. Yi Qinghan raised his hand and said to the people of the crazy sect, Today, I declare that the crazy sect will be disbanded. You may think of the crazy sect, but remember one thing. Whether it's the sorcerer tribe or the great demon god, It's not a problem for you to kill the experts of the crazy sect if you're in the same realm. However, if you kill the experts of the inner sect with a higher realm, you'll have to take revenge in the future. We'll fight to the death. The people of the crazy sect looked at Yi Qinghan in surprise. They did not expect him to make such a decision. However, the determination in Yi Qinghan's eyes was irrefutable. His ruthlessness shocked even the over-gods. As the leader of a small sect, he dared to threaten people from two major factions at the same time. Only the arrogant sect would dare to do such a thing. Yi Qinghan's actions might have been a bit impulsive, but he was also choosing a side. However, he didn't choose to side with any of them. He chose to remain neutral. This way, the great demonic god's bloodline wouldn't be asking for trouble and offend Yi Qinghan. This was a way of protecting themselves. Qinghan. Gu Qingyu frowned. Yi Qinghan's decision might keep the people of the inner sect safe, but it would put him in danger. It's okay. You can leave. After today, there will be no more crazy sect. Yi Qinghan said firmly. The experts of the Divine Fire City heard Yi Qinghan's decision clearly. The news spread like thunder in an instant. Everyone in the Sisui realm knew about it. Finally, it spread to the Demon God Mountain. The people of the great Demon God tribe were overjoyed. Yi Qinghan had a falling out with the people of the Witch God tribe. This was good for the Demon God tribe. This is the best news. Although the crazy sect is of the younger generation, their battle strength is not bad. Especially when Emperor Yi is in the crazy sect. Ha ha ha, the witch tribe has shot themselves in the foot this time. Dragon Crouching Taoist is really our lucky star. Demonic tiger deity laughed. At the same time, in the Witch God Mountain, two ultimate experts of the witch tribe bloodline were awakened. They were furious when they heard that Dragon Crouching Taoist was so aggressive towards the inheritor of the Chaos Dragon. Pig. Idiot. This is ridiculous. A white-haired elder was flustered and exasperated. His old fingertips were trembling with anger as he paced back and forth in the palace. Let Little 12 handle it. It's time for him to appear. The other elder frowned and sighed. In the witch tribe's secret territory, there was a 7-foot-tall young man. He looked at most 18 or 19 years old, but he was actually a master god. He held the witch god's spear in his hand and looked like the son of God. At this moment, the message talisman on his waist flashed and a shadow appeared. It was one of the elders in the witch tribe's palace. Little 12, you represent the great Father God. Now that the Chaos Dragon's inheritance has appeared and the first Supreme Godhead has been condensed, you should go and rope her in. However, she might be very angry today. Even if she is rude to you, you have to bear with it. Back then, the great Father God had to worship the Chaos Dragon thrice to get him to help. You have to have the same mentality as the Father God, understand? The elder said in a deep voice. Great-grandfather, don't worry. I will gather the descendants of the witch tribe and fight against the great demon god tribe. Little 12's name was Wu Yan. He was the descendant of the 8th generation of the witch god. He was ranked 12th in this generation and was called Little 12 by his people. He was indeed young and was from the same generation as Yi Qingtian. However, his talent was terrifying. When he was just born, his bloodline was so pure that it surpassed 3 generations of the witch tribe. He even inherited the Chaos Witch God's origin and achieved the 9 Revolution Chaos Tao body. Chapter 8:14. In the Godly Fire City, after confirming that the Dragon Crouching Taoist did not dare to make a move, the inner sect members dispersed and left. The elites of the inner sect rushed to different planes and disappeared without a trace. Although the inner sect was disbanded, the spirit of the inner sect was still there. Whoever dared to bully the people of the inner sect would definitely face the wrath of the inner sect. Even the great demonic god did not dare to provoke such an inner sect, let alone the other forces. Some of the hidden powerful sects started to extend olive branches to recruit people from the inner sect. The moment they made a move, they would use the status of honorary deacons. For example, if one didn't have the status of an honorary elder, they wouldn't dare to recruit people from the inner sect. To the dragon-crouching Taoist, although the insane sect was disbanded, the threat was even greater. Although the group of monsters was strong, their cultivation level was not high enough. Now that they were scattered, it was impossible to kill them one by one. If he offended Yi Qinghan now, when the group of monsters grew up, the witch tribe would not only have to face the great demonic god. At this moment there were only 4 people left in the inner sect. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi Chuntian and Qin Wentian, and even the void god Yi and Yi Yun'er had left. Leaving now was the best choice. If a battle broke out, even Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi would not be able to escape. Take Wentian and leave the Sisui water surface. Be smart and don't let anyone bully Wentian. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice to Yi Chuntian. Father. Yi Chuntian did not want to leave Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi behind. He took his wife and ran away alone. Stop talking nonsense. If a fight breaks out, you will be a burden. If you all leave, the 3 overgods will not be able to stop me and your mother. If you all stay, how can we leave? Yi Qinghan coldly interrupted Yi Chuntian. Yi Chuntian thought about it and agreed. He pulled Qin Wentian and prepared to leave this place. Stop. Before the young master arrives, the incorporeal body cannot leave. The dragon-crouching Taoist's aura changed. His aura was overpowering as he tried to suppress Yi Chuntian and Qin Wentian. The other chief god also exuded the might of a chief god. His will reached the heavens, and no one could resist. Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan exchanged glances and unleashed their attacks at the same time. Emperor Yi plucked the zither and the chaos dragon appeared again. It coiled in the sky and swooped down at Taoist dragon subduing, while its tail slapped at another master god. Yi Qinghan followed the dragon and charged at the other master god. Let's go! Yi Qinghan shouted angrily at Yi Chuntian. He wasn't sure if the sorcerer tribe would kill Qin Wentian. Leaving now was the best choice. Whoosh! The collapse of Divine Fire City had even affected Divine Artifact Sect. A sky-high saber accompanied the giant tail of the Chaos Dragon as it whizzed past. It mixed with the tragic sound of the zither strings, causing the heaven and earth to tremble. On the dragon's head, Emperor Ye's hands were nowhere to be seen. He plucked the zither wildly and launched a soul attack, hoping to stop Taoist dragon subduing. The dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the galaxy as if it was going to swallow Divine Fire City whole. Divine Fire City was in chaos. Even the half-step chief gods were fleeing with their families, not daring to stay. Taoist dragon subduing didn't dare to hurt Emperor Yi, so he could only hide. However, the other master god wasn't afraid of killing Yi Qinghan. He attacked furiously, containing the might of heaven and earth. The power of a chief god poured out and destroyed the void. It actually split Divine Fire City into 2 forcefully, distorting time and space. Boom! The long tail of the Chaos Dragon shook the confinement of the universe and collided with the chief god. Even though it was just an illusion, it still had a substantial attack. Its majestic power could destroy heaven and earth. The sovereign was so powerful that he was able to shatter the illusion of the gigantic dragon, but his body's lifeblood was in a state of disarray from the collision. He found it difficult to control his strength, and before he could even attack to kill Yi Qinghan's frenzy had already arrived near his head. The timing of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's attacks was perfect. The Master God only had time to raise his sword to block before he collided violently with Yi Qinghan's attack. The Master God was unable to withstand the force of the attack, and his body turned into a shooting star as he was sent flying. You must have a death wish. The chief god was enraged. He quickly stabilized himself after crashing into the ground. He controlled his vitality and relied entirely on his combat strength, suppressing all living things around him to the point where they dared not breathe. A chief god was a chief god after all. There was a fundamental difference between a half-step chief god and a chief god. If a chief god wanted to kill a half-step chief god, he could do so with a wave of his hand. Roar. The giant dragon's roar shook mountains and rivers. It turned its head and charged at the chief god. Although the giant dragon was huge, its speed wasn't slow at all. It was as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it was on par with Yi Qinghan. Stop! What are you doing? Are you crazy? With a furious roar, the luminous martial combat constitution turned into a bolt of lightning. His sword pierced through the void and appeared between the two in an attempt to stop them from killing each other. At this moment, Yi Chentian and Qin Wentian had already disappeared from the Divine Fire City. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi did not want to get tangled up with the chief gods either. They retreated dozens of miles away, distancing themselves from them. Ling Xiaoyu, the luminous martial combat constitution, stood in the middle with his sword in hand. His expression was rather gloomy as he glared at the chief god. He questioned coldly, "Chief God Qingao, who gave you the right to attack the Chaos Dragon's heir?" Although the current level of the 10 combat constitutions was lower than that of a chief god's, his status far surpassed that of a chief god's. The chief god before him dared not act recklessly. Yi Qinghan let the ethereal spirit body go. "I only wanted to keep the ethereal spirit body. Is that wrong?" Chen Gao replied in a muffled voice. Crack! Ling Xiaoyu clenched his fist. He was furious that Chen Gao was treating the supreme god's heir with such insolence. "You can talk to 12 about this." Ling Xiaoyu flicked his sleeves and turned around. He glared at Dragon Subduing Taoist and said angrily, "He doesn't understand." "Don't tell me you don't understand either? Doing something that hurts those close to you and makes your enemies happy. How preposterous!" Dragon Subduing Taoist's mouth twitched. He had no words to refute. After all, the luminous martial combat constitution's status was too high. He was an existence that was close to Wu Yan. "I was just thinking about the common people. I was a little impatient. Fellow Taoists, please forgive me." Dragon Subduing Taoist bowed slightly to express his apology. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. He did not want to get tangled up with them anymore. If it wasn't for Wu Yan's arrival, there was no need for him to waste time with them. "Fellow Taoists, please don't be calculative with them." However, the two of them really didn't consider the consequences of letting the ethereal spirit body go. After all, the demonic god clan could snatch the ethereal spirit body away at any time. It might even implicate your son. Ling Xiaoyu bowed slightly. This bow was naturally for Emperor Yi because he understood the status and value of the primal Chaos Dragon's inheritance. "Let your young master talk to me. After that, we will leave. In the future, we will have nothing to do with each other." Yi Qinghan coldly said. "Fellow Taoist." Ling Xiaoyu wanted to ease the tension between the two of them, but he didn't know what to say. Regarding Qin Wentian, even the second sorcerer god didn't kill him. "You guys are saying that you did it for the common people? What a joke. Isn't it for your own glory? People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Fellow Taoists, there's no need to say anything more." Yi Qinghan looked at the two overgods with disdain and mocked coldly. "The second sorcerer god?" Ling Xiaoyu's body trembled. What kind of existence was that? Could it be that he wasn't dead yet? Wasn't he destroyed during the primal chaos era? Dragon Subduing Taoist and Qin Gao were stunned. They didn't expect that the second sorcerer god would be dragged into this matter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.